ESL Pro League is brought to you in part by Logitech G, Hey Safeguard, The Score Esports, Mountain Dew, and ESEA.
Hello and welcome to Week 6, Matchday 18 of the ESL Pro League. We put Matt back in the casting chair and I'm back where I belong here, shackled to the desk.
We're all back where we belong, Alex.
Yes,
talking about CS instead of playing it.
Well, we saw how badly that went for me just earlier on today. If you tuned into Spudge's stream, you'd have seen me drop in a solid 11, I think was the pinnacle of my success.
Either way, it was 8.
I had a good dust too. Okay. Anyway, these guys and their bad veto process and our pugs is a different story. For now, though, I am Alex Machine Richardson. I'm joined by Janko YNK Paunovic and Chad Birchill. Gentlemen, don't give me the eyes. Don't look at him with your sick pistol round on the top front page of Reddit. You feeling good after that one?
He was the veto guy, that's why I looked at it.
Oh, he was the veto guy. Yeah.
I wanted to play some variety.
Nuke, guys.
I wanted to play variety.
Why order? I'm not good. I'm not ready for nuke.
Okay, back to the dry runs.
How's life?
Life
Janko,
is great.
That pistol was not too shabby.
Yeah, it's just, you know, every now and then, it's like I played Counter-Strike once, then I just remember afterwards why I stopped playing.
Yeah, because you have moody people like me and Henry just sulking in a corner somewhere.
Because I suck.
Oh, okay, sure. Well, it's one of the two. I knew it was going to happen. Either way, Chad, just a quick word from you. How's your life in Cologne doing? I heard you tidied your apartment this morning.
Yeah, had a bit of a tussle today with some sprouting potatoes. That was really good.
I can't believe you didn't tidy up sooner.
Come on, it's an Airbnb. There shouldn't be food in there when I rock on in.
You're right, and now you've just called the entire Airbnb host out on stream. Congratulations.
That's fine.
She's furious right now.
I'm furious.
He's furious, and he'll have a rant about that later, but for now, let's stay on track. Today does promise some fantastic games. Get to see more of NaVi and more, because we saw what Guardian was capable of just yesterday, and that's where we're taking a look now. Let's have a look at yesterday and see exactly what CS extravaganza we did dissect. It started with Mouse NaVi, and as may be expected, Overpass, much more leaning towards NaVi, did go their way, and Dust 2 for Mouse Sports did once again go as expected for us at the desk. They suggested this was their best chance versus T1 team, and they managed to pick up the win, 16-13. Keep your eyes on PENTA as well. That was on our B stream, brought to you by Metis & Co. And you can see that PENTA are once again sticking it close, if not finding wins versus some of the best. Look at that, 16-14 win versus none other than the Danes Astralis, who perhaps haven't been having a good time recently. G2 Nip, and as well, you got to see Nip pick up just 15 rounds between the two maps for the French side. I think most notably, actually, from those kind of rounds was just how many overtimes poor Dignitas and Hellraisers had to play. I saw Magic Boy kind of dropping a complaint like, you have a really good LAN and then you sit back on your computer chair at home and you just have to play some really long OT games versus Hellraisers. He was a bit grumpy after that one.
Well, I mean, how can you be grumpy? You are playing a video game for a living. Man,
that's a great point,
that is
actually.
The best answer.
I mean, man up. Just
man
have to play a couple of games online. Really, I feel really bad for you.
Oh no, bless you. Yeah, congratulations though. They did concede that though, and Hellraisers picked up a win, and I think it was double overtime, so convincing stuff in the end. But let's have a look at the standings, because it's starting to get down to crunch time, gents. I mean, we're into, like, you know, what is week 6 closing in on that, and then we got just what? It's 9 weeks of play, so you just got another 3 to look forward to. Let's bring them up, though, and have a look at those standings, because you can start theory crafting. This is where I'm going to throw it over to you, Chad, just to kind of look for those kind of top 6 finishes. What have you got? Any dark horses?
Well, NaVi are looking super strong, so you're going to expect them to put themselves into a top 6 position pretty easily. Probably FaZe to drop out, and G2 as well, I think, if, you know, 11 losses and 7 losses in FaZe are on the downswing at the moment. Yeah. I think, you know, VP, if they get their act together, you know, they could swing up into that top 6, and Fnatic, it's weird calling Fnatic a dark horse, but with this new roster, you know, nobody really knows what to expect, and they are looking pretty good. I could see them making it into that top 6.
Yeah, statistically on some of the rankings, I think HLTV have actually got them underneath NRG at this point in time.
Isn't that humorous?
Isn't that a dank meme? But Astralis are an interesting discussion topic to have. Admittedly, we won't be seeing them today, but sitting on 9-9, they've been having such a bumpy ride recently. Do you think the Danes will slip into the top 6, or is it a little too late for them, Janko?
I think it might be a little bit too late, Alex. I mean, it depends on a number of things. We see VP at a 5-7 score, but you know, if they don't get that many losses towards the end of it, they can definitely qualify, even though they're towards the lower end of the table right now. I think it's a bit too early to theory craft, simply because there are so many games to be played, and it would be too much to look into who's playing who, right, until the end. Probably some teams have easier games, at least on paper, than the others, so there are still a lot of factors that come into play here.
Yeah, you're probably right. I think maybe end of next week we can maybe get a clearer picture, if not even later, because we've seen it before. You can have these last couple of matches determine so much. It's always just kind of the narrowest margins that do determine the victor in the end to get top 6 and to get to those awesome Pro League finals over in Brazil. For now, though, we have another set of matches for you, and today we're going to be bringing you, hopefully, some fantastic CS. It's up to PENTA, really, to determine whether we do get to see a good display or not. It will be the majority German side going up against NaVi, who we have indicated already are in sterling form. The maps Cbble and Overpass to be played as well. Can't help but feel there is definitely a clear favourite in our first. And following that, you get VP Hellraisers as well. Gentlemen, am I right in saying that? Like, we can anticipate a rather, I mean, I'm saying a rather mismatched first game, would you say, Chad? I mean, PENTA's results haven't been gleaming recently.
Their results are really weird. Like, it seems like they almost played to the level of their opponents, because they've had some decent results, right? Like, they've only had 3 wins this season so far, but they've had some close matches, and they've been versus good teams. So maybe they're good on this online environment, you know, where they're feeling comfortable. They're not really a team who you'd even consider, you know, in the top, what are we, 16, 14 teams? Yeah. You wouldn't consider them in the top 14, but they're able to qualify, and they're doing better than Flipside, who are a legend status team. And on Flipside, apparently they've dropped Shara. And,
yeah, let's touch on that for a moment. I saw this on the ESEA team profile. No Shara anymore. Did we see who stepped in? I think it was Electronic.
That's the one. Yeah.
Why does that name ring a bell?
Because he played, I can't remember for which team, at the Columbus minor, the CIS minor, and he was playing really well. I mean, individually, I remember...
He wasn't a fluffy gangster, was he?
Because we were at another event, and Anders was constantly talking about him. This kid, Electronic, he's the new big deal. That's his POF. His POF...
Yeah, never forget.
New POF is Electronic for Anders.
Okay, so new POF is Electronic, so maybe we'll be seeing more from Flipside in the Pro League as time does progress. You don't get to see them today, though. You saw what's coming up today. And before we do delve any deeper into NaVi, PENTA, you've made a good point already, Chad, given that they play to the level of their opponent. But another team that we always pin with the play to the level of their opponent is Mr. VP, and they are actually going up against Hellraisers. Fresh off their success over in DreamHack Bucharest, what are we thinking there? Can the Hellraisers actually kind of give us a game to look forward to? Is this going to be a VP stomping?
I think, you know, as I mentioned, VP has a good chance of qualifying still, but this is where they have to prove it. This is where they have to prove that, you know, they can play online as well, because there's no doubt about VP showing up on LAN and, you know, showing high level of play and being a title contender. But you need to be able to win these online games to get a spot at, you know, big tournaments like Pro League, like, you know, ECS and all that stuff. You need to be able to perform on both, and this is where they need to get a 2-0 to keep their chances of qualifying.
I mean, just anything to add to that one, I think, would you agree that it is just a 2-0 or nothing for VP in this instance?
Well, I think, you know, Hellraisers showing, definitely that's the case, yeah. They need to 2-0 this. But Hellraisers last night, they took a map off Astralis, right? So they're not looking too shabby themselves. We're not, was it Dignitas?
Oh, it was. Dignitas, PENTA played Astralis.
Oh, okay. Well, they took a map
off
Danes anyway.
Both,
They took a map off someone.
Yeah, both Danes conceded a map yet last night.
They're not looking terrible. You know, they're doing all right, considering. So it'll be an interesting match, I think, because we all know how VP, you know, they mentally take their foot off the gas for these kind of matches.
It always does seem to be a little bit of a problem that we encounter here at the Pro League. VP, however, have done better than last season. We will never forget their infamous, whatever it was, 1 for 18, something abysmal. But back into track and back onto our first lineups. Let's have a look at these faces that are going to be battling through these 2 maps. Cbble and Overpass are the maps, and it's going to be NaVi and PENTA to do battle upon them. Now, you're all familiar with NaVi, but we have to walk through PENTA. Stefan, Crystal, Lal, Tarsin, and Mike S. Now, it's kind of crazy when you do look down that roster. It's starting to shift more and more away from the German side. I mean, we've got a Spaniard and a Dutchman joining us now.
It's like the Germans don't want to play with the German players. Look at Mousesports, for example.
God, yeah, all of them are disintegrating.
Yeah.
What's going on there? Maybe there's some German politics going on behind the scenes. Get Merkel on the desk.
I mean, we can only speculate, but Kyrie was a part of this team, right? And they replaced him for Stefan. Apparently, one of the reasons was also so they could play in the German championship, because you need to have at least 3 German players, the majority. Sure. But interestingly enough, Nex was on the market. I mean, he was removed from Mouse, and he played with some of the PENTA. He played with Crystal in that old iteration of PENTA, with Dennis and Speedy as well. You know, I'm not sure if they wanted to pick him up, but he just wants to have a break or something. But, you know, interesting thought right there.
And what do you think think about these imports, Chad? You know, the likes of Lowell, who was poached from G-Bots. We saw, in fact, someone else from that team, Mixwell, heading over to Optic. These Spaniards just kind of unable to forge a full Spanish roster, and so have just been kind of picked apart by various other European rosters. Do you think this is going to work, or do we start talking language barriers?
No, I think you have to take a risk. You know, if you don't feel you have enough skill or faith in your own community or players from your own country, you have to take that risk. And, you know, it's paid off for a lot of people, really. Mixwell going to Optic, like you said, has been really good for Optic. There's imports that help out other teams quite a lot, and I think it's good to kind of spread that skill around. If people struggle with the language barrier, then, yeah, that's going to really hinder them.
Yeah.
But this team has Mike S, who's from the Netherlands, right? It's weird, you've got 3 AWPers from the Netherlands who all play in different teams. So it's Chris J, he's not AWPing anymore, but he was. Crucial, who's playing for Splice, and Mike S, they're all playing in the Pro League.
Yeah, and I mean, I need to kind of poke as well towards the vetoes as well. Now, normally we have the ban and protect elsewhere, but this is, of course, locked in ahead of time. I actually saw Sean Gare's tweet recently that the Pro League's veto process is one of the more exciting because you can kind of you have to mind game your opponent even in the veto process. Could you quickly explain it again, Yanko, or has it escaped your mind? Because it's still a little elusive to me.
No, I can. So it's like a 2 best-of-1 type of a thing, and there's always a home team and the away team. So the picks and bans are done blindly. Your opponent doesn't know what you ban. So team A gets to pick 3 maps, again, blindly. So you say you want to pick first Mirage, Cbble, and Overpass. The other team vetoes blindly. So maybe they veto Mirage and Overpass, and then Cash is left to play. But maybe they veto Train and Cbble, so you get to play the first map that you picked, and it goes in that order. It gives the order of maps that you'd like to play, and the first one that's available that isn't banned out, that's the one that actually played, and then you just swap for the second leg.
And that's how we ended up with the double cash the other day because of that very instance.
It's possible. It's unlikely, but it's possible.
It is indeed. And now what we ended up here with NaVi PENTA is Cbble and Overpass. Would it be safe to assume, Chad, that these maps both favour NaVi? I know majority of maps would, but I mean, we saw what they can do on Overpass just yesterday.
PENTA have had some pretty good results recently, like that, not wins, but they've had like a 16-14 and a 16-13 versus G2 and Mouse recently. So they were pretty close games. They didn't get the Ws, but it's traditionally this used to be a good map for NaVi, but they haven't played it since E-League when they had Zeus. So this will be the first time they've played it with Simple in the lineup, which would be interesting to see how they integrate him.
I'm just sorry. Just as you said that, I was like, oh yeah, let me actually bring up the PENTA match page. And this is, I'm just going to read some off, right? Because this is actually kind of crazy. So they recently beat Astrala 16-14, but here are the losses: 16-14 loss versus G2, 16-11 loss versus G2, 16-14 loss versus Heroic, 16-13 loss versus Mouse Sports. They go on. They had an overtime loss versus FaZe Clan. They've even had 2 close games. Even took a map off Virtus Pro. These guys, yes, they may not look great on the Pro League on the standings, but they're evidently bringing a good game. This is actually going to be a really intriguing opportunity to see what they are capable of. I mean, these names, I assume, are familiar to you, Yanko. The names on PENTA, you've seen them, we've casted them many a time now, but where do their strengths lie now? I mean, do we look to new blood Stefan, or do we look to the old guard, Mr. Crystal?
I think Lowell is maybe the player who stood out the most in this PENTA lineup. Crystal, actually, he was known as one of probably the best German opera at the time, one of the leading forces for PENTA, able to go aggressive at the time. He was comfortable with that, creating openings for his team. But we haven't seen him perform like that for quite a while right now. I think that's one of the main reasons why PENTA fell off.
And now I just need to quickly probe you for predictions, because it does sound like they're ready to jump into it. Now, I mean, we've avoided talking too much in depth just because it does feel like it's going to be David versus Goliath, but do drop me Sponge. Do you think PENTA have any degree or an iota of chance in the first map, which will be Cobblestone?
I don't see it. I think NaVi are too strong. They've been playing fantastically fundamental and well-disciplined Counter-Strike. I don't see them dropping this.
The well-oiled CIS machine. What have you got for me, Yanko? Go. Just roll the dice. Go crazy.
Born to win, Alex.
He hates these. He hates predictions. He doesn't even like me. You're not even going to give it to. Just say the name.
NaVi.
Wow, he's great. Love it. Right, obviously it does seem like the desk is leaning one way, but PENTA have proven that they can test the very best. Let's jump in and have a look with your casters.
Thank you very much, Alex, and the rest of the desk. I don't necessarily know if NaVi's going to be uttered in hushed tones like it was for Yanko. I think a lot of people are very much on board here with the CIS squad. We expect them to come out pretty strong, even on Cobblestone, which has been better for PENTA in recent times.
Yeah, yes and no. It's certainly been played with PENTA. They just haven't been able to pick up a victory on it yet during the Pro League. They're 0-3 on it, but they've had close results. That's the one thing I'd say.
Yeah.
They have been getting so close on some. Their Mouse Sports game was incredibly close. Their CT side brought it back quite substantially. They have been picking up a couple of wins on Cobble outside of the Pro League, but during this, where I'm looking at, it hasn't been, you know, the easy victories being picked up. It just seems that longevity just seems to dwindle out a little bit.
We've seen interesting stuff from these guys. I think it was actually the VP game which we saw PENTA play, where they really fancy going for this CT-sided aggression over towards the A side. And we throw this around a lot. And the reason why it's interesting when it comes to a map like Cobblestone, because those forays for information as a CT side are generally far more risky, but often can yield a greater reward. And a team like PENTA, we often see them actually being very keen to push on towards that A-long and actually get that information and get a read on their opponents early in the round.
Yeah, and you supplement that with what LoL brings. I think you saw it most recently in that Mouse game. I think specifically to me, he had a very nice game playing on the CT side when he was on B, playing from Statue. He was incredibly dominant. And Mouse Sports, you know, they can normally depend on the likes of, you know, Nico to...
Was it close match? Was it 16-13?
I think it came back to something along those lines. It was a very one-sided start. Mouse Sports took the lead. You can watch it back on the YouTube channel and such. But yeah, it became a much closer game than it was expected. So for me, it was LoL being a really kind of a buck stop almost, you know, just stopping anything from really beginning for them once they tried to hit that B side. So, you know, I think there's very few win conditions here for PENTA that can actually come true. I think the most important and most interesting thing to me is how Cbble plays this map, how he fits into this one. Because you look back on where Zeus used to play for NaVi when he was on the CT side here. He used to play long, kind of play with Guardian, who played more towards middle by the door. So I want to see if he steps into that position or if they completely switch things up. Again, I don't think it'd be a stretch to see Simple playing there, but, you know, now that double AWP play is coming out, he said it on Twitter recently. Yeah, I'm now I'm the secondary AWP. Here we go. This is the time. So will they put him towards that position? You know, I doubt they'd move Edward away from platform. Edward's always been really, really solid at holding that. You know, Seized generally been pretty solid by drop. You know, it's how do you mix that up? How do you adjust this? Do you change him for Flamey where he plays? I don't know. I want to see how this one works out, because generally they've been kind of coupling him near Guardian. You look at Overpass, for example, and they even had the double AWP on the same side on Overpass on the CT side when they're both playing toilets with the AWP. That was very kind of, it got a couple of scratcher heads going, that's kind of risky. That's very, very risky. So for me, it's just, how do they put Simple into this? Where do they place him? I'm hoping it's going to be on A-long, so we get to see him kind of playing that off the back of with Guardian. You know, maybe leave him to solo the site every now and then, do that 4-1. Love to see a bit of that, see how he kind of fares on his own. Very much a mental game at that point. So yeah, very exciting to see what he can bring on this and to see NaVi coming back into this map. Because as I said, they haven't played it during the Pro League. They haven't played it too much recently. E-League being, I think, one of the last big times they played it.
There's been a lot of online CS to happen since then.
Exactly. And, well, in the last 3 months, they lost to Liquid and Fnatic. One was at Cologne, one was at E-League. So, again, you know, they play very good teams. Let's be honest here, NaVi. They play very well as well. But PENTA has been playing to their opponent's skill level, and when they've been playing against Tier 1 teams, that's not a bad thing to be doing.
Yeah, but if you look at their stats sometimes against Tier 2 teams, they lose to guys like Euronics and stuff like that, in the 8-16 score lines, that kind of thing. But I mean, I like the comparison or the interest that we're drawing around perhaps Guardian and Seized in that AWP role was talked about last night. In fact, that Guardian, although he had that nutty moment, of course, on Overpass, more of an AWP that likes to hold angles, whereas, you know, Chad put it describing, I guess, Simple as the very definition of a battle AWPer on a map like this. Obviously, you want to be holding angles very much as a CT-sided player here on this map. Very much want to try and play it passively through and just, you know, watch your lines. But still be interesting to see how Simple gets activated.
But for me, I think that's a really nice combination to have, though. You don't want too aggressive AWPers, right? Taking too many risks. If both of them go to try and face, both go down, that's a huge loss instantly. Of course, that's logical. So it'd be really kind of interesting to see how they bound off each other on this map, because I think you can get aggressive with that AWP if you know, maybe want to go A-long, but you might be late there in comparison to the T side. You might be able to get that angle first and hold it. So, you know, how do they feel coming into this? Will Simple dare to take that chance? He might be playing the spot that kind of supplements that sort of play. So, yeah, lots to be seen here. This could be a competitive match, Mitch, but I feel that it's all on PENTA to bring their absolute A game, play to the level of NaVi, and try and bring something unique. Because as I said, these teams like PENTA have a little bit more time to work on stuff. They're not at these events every day of the week. They can kind of review, they can bring this sort of play forward, and we're going to see what looks like a bit of a tendency towards a 4-1, but no, it's kind of been slowed down. So this is a bit different. So Edward and Guardian both playing towards A. That's a little bit unique here, maybe just for the pistol. And Simple's actually going over towards B with Flamey for the face. And he's going for the non-silenced USP because, you know what, why not? And he's going to get the face very early here. 4 players, he's found 2, and he's going to maybe get a 3rd here. Can't dance his way out that one, not get right. But he's left into a 3v3.
Yeah, but now just going to pressure over this side. I think it was 5 decoys thrown by PENTA over towards the A side here. So, you know, given that fact, I think NaVi weren't really that perturbed about it. They've been able to respond to this quickly enough, and that's Edward to find Crystal here. Lol hoping for an angle on towards Edward, but it's one at a time, trying to challenge out Edward. Not always a good idea. Tarson going to see the secondary angle reveal itself. It's going to be Guardian sallying forth from drop to get the kill.
Yeah, and Penta did get drop control room control there. You know, weren't able to make much of it. They kind of got shut down on platform, but nice buy going to come through very quickly for NaVi. 2 players going straight onto those rifles, one being Guardian, one being Edward, and Simple's going to join in as well. Might switch that one out. Yeah, he does. So he gives that one over to Flamey, going to get a UMP for himself, maybe try and build up that money. And it looks like a 4-1, so they're going to leave Guardian to kind of sense it out towards A, just kind of get the feeling of, you know, are they going to push here, are they not? And then kind of retract back. He's going to be playing very, very passive on this one. Not maybe sure where he wants to play. He seems a little hesitant almost on that. So he's brought Edward back over, so they've definitely switched this up. So Simple's actually playing by platform so far. And also if that goes into the full gun rounds when those AWPs come out, because this is a big change here for me. You know, during the games that we saw not too long ago with NaVi when they played Virtus Pro, for example, I think that was during, I'm not sure which event that was. It was one of the offline events. It was very much switched up. So curious to see if that sticks. But so far, Penta going on the force buy. Last time around when they faced Mouse, they ended up going for that late B hit. But Simple's in a really good spot for this. They don't have mollies, of course. So this could be really, really good if they don't check it.
Yeah, and with one flash, there's a heck of a lot that Simple can do from that spot. That's why it's not always bad to put maybe the weaker gun in that spot. If you can come and get a couple of kills, you've already pretty much paid for it itself. So bit of utility now coming in towards drop room. Sees studiously looking towards the window here. No one showing thus far, and Simple actually wants to get himself up close and personal. This might facilitate for a later drop flank attempt from him, but now C's going to be pressured down. One more fall in a second, shouldn't be far behind. Lol actually catches out Flamey, who's supposed to be helping C's. Nice. Now Tarson helps out. Control of connector now for Penta. They might turn their sights towards A. And
the problem is Simple doesn't know where to go, left or right. He doesn't actually understand where they've gone to just yet, because the information hasn't come through. Guardian's going to see it all now, and Lol is doing wonderfully, finding kill after kill. 2 for him now in the bag, has made this a very interesting round. Finds the M4, almost falls for it, but 24 seconds now. He's got Simple on the flank and Edward on the side. He doesn't know where Simple is. That's just a gamble. That's a guess. That's why he's checking up by the balcony. But he knows where Edward is. He's desperate to find one of these 2 without trading off instantly. Now Lol sneaks up. He's found one. That's perfect. But the bomb is in hand. He can do this as well. Plant's going to come in, and Simple, he can get there on time to challenge 1v1, but he's going to take it slowly. And now here comes the fight. Lol spots it out, and he needs to hold on to this.
That's right. Just trying to stay away now. Keep himself scarce. If he gets pushed by Simple, then he has to deal with it then. But for as long as he can, he's going to try and stay out of line of sight. And Simple patiently tries to find him. He eventually gets him there. It's the headshot with the UMP to finish the job. Not quite a Neo scenario there for Lol, sadly enough. And Simple, regardless of whether he has a kit or not, will be able to defuse here.
But what a brilliant round there from Penta. You know, NaVi saw it all. They understood it all pretty much until the very end of it, where Simple didn't know if they were going to go head back to B, because that there, the site was vacant. He'd already pushed around the back, or if they're actually committing towards A. So they could have made something more of it, but you know, just for the Tech-9 buy-up, trying to play for the plant, trying to get as close as they can, that was really, really good. Bring it down to a 1v1, making it costly for NaVi too to reinvest into this, because you know Penta are going to go for the buy here, or at least they can do. That's the thing, because they've got that plant. They did pretty well getting the kills. They can afford this force up, so they've gone for the Deagle, bit of armor, some upgraded pistols, but they have those 2 important rifles. Lol and Mike S are looking to make a big difference, and Guardian soloing out on A. If he gets overrun here quickly, that could be trouble, because NaVi haven't put another player there with him. He's calling for help. Look at NaVi rotating on the minimap. Instantly trying to fall back over.
Yeah, 3 players as well coming to assist Guardian, so this is going to turn to a bit of a stack for NaVi over on the A side. Smoke towards long, and C's will be the first to peek his head now in towards middle. We won't see a heck of a lot here because Penta sort of kept themselves fairly scarce. He sees the feet of Lol and just going to spray down with the UMP, getting a decent amount of damage done to one of the 2 AKs on the side of Penta. Keeps himself safe as well from the retaliatory fire coming in from Tarsin through the door. Now, NaVi have a read on this. They know there's at least 2 players here that bring the reinforcements, and Flamey's bringing the firepower.
Yeah, Mike S being caught out there is a huge problem. He was one of the 2 players with the rifle, and now well, I was about to say the pain was about to begin, but no, actually it gets a little bit closer. Lol and Crystal, gifted opportunities. Now this is a problem. You've got a 3v3 here. But the HP is low for Penta. Lol's on 35, Stefan on 9. This is still going to be very tricky for NaVi, but only 2 players holding on towards A. I say only 2. It's Guardian and Edward, the classics almost here now. So Simple's on the flank. He knows there's nothing coming around the back. He can just bolster up here. He can just hold this if he wants to and say, guys, just keep focusing on A. I'll let you know if I hear anything. Just stay where you are. 30 seconds means they have to commit soon.
Lol is watching the backside here, or at least he was for Penta, but now he might have to turn his attention forward as Penta need to make a push towards his side. They established a trade here, making their way towards B, and that's a decent start for them. Edward has 2 directions in which he needs to look, and yep, the bomb needed to be collected, and Stefan could have had a trade situation there as well. If he'd picked up the bomb, he and Lol could at least have gone 1-for-1 and made this a 1v1 situation, but now Edward and Simple still standing at the end of it. Penta, a small mistake and a little turn back, a back heel turn, really hurting the German side.
Yeah, that's really frustrating because they brought that back quite close, actually. They were able to find a couple of kills through middle then. I don't know how, considering that looked like all but
There's
done.
just
After
Navi aggression, really, if you look at the over-push there.
Yeah, definitely. But, you know, at the end of the day, it worked out. Navi do get the 3 rounds to begin with. They've been close, so their money's certainly not stable at this point, but it's good enough to get a decent buy. And you could make the assumption that Penta's not going to go back on another bike, but Guardian's walking straight out into this. He's in the smoke. He hasn't pushed too far yet. Now he's pushing through. Mykes to the left.
Oh.
And Mykes hasn't seen this either, so they've gone around each other, but Edward is still watching this, still has an idea this is a possibility, but gets caught in the heels. Mykes knows what's up, finds the kill, but it is only an MP9 if I'm not mistaken, so it's not much to recover, but it's something at this point.
Yeah, no round 4 buy, hurting Penta a little bit here, obviously forcing the prior round. Kind of a weird way to play out your first few buys, to be honest with you, but again, it's going to be tricky to get this one back in the hands. Not many of them are armored at all here, and you can see that Edward's able to make short work of Mykes. Crystal and Tarsing going to pressure, see if they can get a little 2v1, but no, just sprayed away. It's just that simple without armor. Now Grenade comes in, that's going to hurt Lowell. He walks straight over it, and Edward just wipes the floor with Penta.
So, Penta now able to buy up. Let's see what happens here, because they've been getting a decent read towards, you know, how Navi are playing. The mid-round kind of exchange has been quite interesting, quite nice, and Penta have that full purchase, so they can, you know, molly out those corners, deny simple, that control by platform. But we also see Guardian with the AWP, so this could change a couple of things, how they approach this round for Navi. Do they still play the same way? Do they allow him to solo it? Yeah, and why not? If he can go for the aggressive peek, he's going to wait to see if there's any flashes or smokes. And actually, they smoke and flash, and he's going to hear these steps coming in, but he's going to commit towards it, finds Tarsin, flashes out, expecting someone to try and trade off the back of it, and actually he's got a great chance here, and they actually catch their own flash, but they still find the kill. Very aggressive play from Guardian to stick that one out. It does buy time for the rotate, allowing the rest of Navi to come back through. And Penta, this mid-play, it can work, but they have to take the fight now.
They've been slowed down a lot, and especially losing Mykes, trying to make the way up the slope could really hurt them. Flamey just tapping away at the head of Lowell. He eventually falls to the fire that Stefan laid down behind him, but Penta find themselves with only 2 players left now to pressure A with. And they're spread well, Navi. They've got Edward going to be pressuring on towards Crystal here. No chance for him. He wasn't even looking in the right direction, maybe not expecting such an early push from Wooden. And Stefan on his own can flash himself out of here for all that it's worth, but that's about it. The bomb in his hands. 3 players standing in his way. Sees at the back of the A site. Edward just checking on towards long A here. And there's not really one challenge that Stefan's going to be able to win there. Navi were already 2 entrenched in A after, sure enough, Guardian dying, but still buying plenty time and also buying another AWP.
Yeah, he's back and well set. So far, these rounds have been, I'd say, pretty close. The last 2 have only been down to, what, 3 players? And the one before that, I think, was 4. So yeah, it's started to stabilize for Navi. You know, this is where it got a little bit dicey there. You got the simple 1v1 in it, so it's getting pretty close for Penta, but they haven't yet secured a round, which is starting to become a little bit of a problem. And Guardian's starting to get a little bit aggressive, catches this just a little bit of a slither of a thigh going past on A long, whiffs the nade, goes back in on it though. Tarsin gonna feel the brunt of that, but they've recovered an AWP. So again, really aggressive stuff from Guardian. I'm not sure if he really wanted to commit to that, but I guess he couldn't back away at that point. Now Edward's left with a big task on his hands there, and Stefan's going to strafe into it. Crystal finds seized, and suddenly this bit of a quicker pace to it, a little bit of a fire to Penta, means they can get a bomb plant and a decent after plant position too.
Yeah, Crystal snuck up into that spot. Navi had no idea that he'd already made his way over towards a corrugated iron room, and now Simple and Flamey will have a moment. But Flamey not really well equipped for this situation here. You're not really feeling great with just an SMG at this kind of range, so Flamey would like to get up a little bit closer. Again, utility out towards the side, bomb being down, and Lowell catches out Simple. That's the AWP the Guardian dropped so cheaply earlier in the round. Stefan to take the head of Flamey. And interesting stuff. We've seen Guardian play much the same as he were playing into a buy or into some sort of force round there. Aggressive plays with the AWP. At max, he's maybe getting 2 kills for that, but trading 1 for 1 and losing the AWP to a team that doesn't have the money is just not really worth it.
Maybe misreading how Penta would play that, or just maybe just feeling confident. But here's the double AWP. This is what we wanted to see how this gets implemented as well. Let's have a little look here. So it is what we kind of maybe expected to a degree, that they've switched up a little bit now. So Simple's going to be bringing the AWP towards B. So same as he was before, but this was not a position he normally plays. That was normally Edward's spot. But because of the double AWP factor, maybe this is where we're going to start seeing that bit of a change. And is this a lineup? Or is he just hearing steps? Is that seriously a lineup? I guess it's for the boost. So if there's 2 players on the other side of that, you can boost up and peek over towards platform if it's smoked. So it's actually a really nice idea if it works out. I don't know if it actually hits. I guess it does. But, wow, really nice stuff from Simple putting in the homework. It doesn't pay through, but Penta now have to be careful. They know there's an AWP presence on B.
Flamey going to boost up here on towards the tree. And it will be Penta just to group up for this one. So Simple Again, yeah, not always seeing the AWP position at this point, but I mean, there's no early AWP aggression coming out from Penta. Speaking of aggression, though, Crystal does challenge Seized. He wasn't quite ready for that one. And now a flash over from Simple, hopefully to delay. He's checking to see if any players from Penta are pushed up earlier. We can see that NaVi aren't quite reading the movements of Penta that well. The Guardian in the last few rounds has been a good example of this. Simba's in a good spot to frag, though. Finds Stefan flashed out through the smoke. Not going to get too much, I don't think. It's going to be Lol to respond back on towards him. Flamey, though, in a power position. Might have to back away after this one, just the one kill and try and stay alive. Or make it two. Get more than he bargained for. And now it's Edward and Guardian to play into just Tarsin.
Yeah, Flamey just being the rock there, just holding it together long enough to allow players to get to a really nice position and make it so uncomfortable for Tarsin here in this 1v2. He does have the bomb and he's got a little bit of utility to play around here, so he can maybe try and make them, you know, play out these positions, take a fight that he can maybe win here. Guardian's just trying to pull the attention toward him, play in Edward, but the shoulder's showing and didn't hit the shot. That's a bit of a shame there. Guardian's going to find it very comfortably in the end, and the score remained pretty drastically one-sided. NaVi at 6-1. Edward certainly doing well for himself, maybe feeling refreshed here in this new spot that he seems to be playing out, but yeah, really well played to him so far. So all in all, a bit of a thrashing and a quote-unquote technical pause coming in at this point. Maybe for Penta to have a discussion as well.
Well, they have the opportunity to do that at the very least. Money's a bit weird for Penta at this stage. I mean, you can see that Mike S and Stefan have a little bit to work with, but the rest of them, not really. So, in all likelihood, we may see a light rifle buyer or even another pistol force here just to carry them through, but unsuccessful thus far. These endeavours to get rounds back against NaVi. Both of these teams struggling to read each other.
This is the thing, though. Penta's having close rounds, they're just not closing. And I think this is something you see so often, is the fact that they get close. They get a couple of good trades here and there, but, you know, after plant positions or just, to, you know, getting into those kind of late round situations, they just don't have the players alive. They don't have, you know, the power of positioning. They have nothing really working in their favor. Hence why their money's still not awful here, and the money's still pretty bad for NaVi. It's been close rounds, a little back and forth in the last two. So NaVi haven't stabilized yet, but they're so good at keeping hold of this. They haven't been pushed yet towards, you know, having to worry too much. They can still go towards buying like UMPs or SMGs towards drop. You can still buy a Mag 7 towards plat. It's all very, very viable at this point still. So they don't have to worry about too much. And yeah, Penta, of course, they're going to force up into this. Why not, I guess? You've got them down pretty low money-wise. You can't make the full assumption as how low they are, but you can know you've been doing damage, you've been getting close in some of these rounds, back and forth. CT sides always suffer, but they need to make this count now. They need to find something to do in this round to try and make the difference. Mike S on the AWP, though, could be a bit of a factor here, but we'll see if he gets caught out in the end, because Guardian still has his as well.
There's position from Guardian as well. Just early in towards danger is often the case. Sometimes Edward's going towards long A, sometimes he's sitting back and looking in towards middle. Either way, those two, a very solid early round combination here over on A. You can see Edward now joining the aforementioned. And it might be Penta just trying to distract a little bit over at B here. Two smokes are already down. And that's Seized and Simple just trying to fire through it. But on this side of the map, this is probably more interesting now because you've got Lola Tarsin hoping to make something happen, and the flash comes in. Edward wants to follow it up, and Tarsin takes his head clean off there with the deagle.
He was just a couple of seconds too late to work off the back of that flash. I think he heard the steps of them backing away. I was like, all right, I'm going to try and do something about this. But as said, just a couple of seconds too late. The flash, dissipated. And it looks like an A split coming in because you've got Stefan and Crystal working down towards drop. But the bomb is in drop itself, so Stefan has to be kind of careful to not leave this here because otherwise it just gets completely surrounded. So you've got Seized on one side, Flamey on the other. I'm not sure how Penta are going to play this out. I want maybe Lol, Tarsin, Mike S to try and make a bit of a play because you're just leaving them to walk in pretty blind here.
Well, Seized not going to be able to catch out Crystal. He shoots down into the dome. At least Simple can trade that one out. He actually early rotated to try and help out Guardian, but now has floated back in towards Connector. He fails to take down Stefan in that challenge now, and this is looking a little bit grim here, but Guardian can always be called upon to drag his team through the round, but not this time. It'll be Flamey now in a 1v3 to try and make something of this round, which, to be fair, Penta has made the best of their opportunities. And the pressure early with losing Edward on the NaVi side has paved the way. Mike S there with another one, and that'll be Penta's second for the game.
And I do have to bring up the fact as well, you know, Penta have been having close games, and considering they've been barely winning pistol rounds, they've only won one pistol round out of 6 so far that they played on Cobble specifically. So they've been still having close games without that 3-round buffer, so not too surprising. Or it's actually, no, it is quite surprising they've been still having these close games without that nice kind of addition of 3. So for them, they need to start
really
building
set yourself behind there.
Yeah, exactly. If they're going to stick true to trend, they need to get a good couple more rounds because they shouldn't be picking up the pistol in the second half if you look at stats alone, I guess. But into this one, NaVi, their money's finally broken. broken a little bit here. They're going to be stacking out the B side, just, a couple of upgraded pistols, a nade and a flash, and that's it. And PENTA, they're understanding what's coming their way. They're playing quite slow, quite deep. They're not, taking needless fights, just trying to pair up almost. You've got Crystal and Stefan trying to work together. That's a really nice way to doing it. Lol and Tarsin working down A long, and the bomb's not committed either. So cautious of a stack, cautious of aggression, all these sort of things. PENTA are playing this with a bit of a smart approach to it now.
Flash for Flamey to get some position here up on this platform. Stefan, though, will be holding vigil. Now, 2 players from NaVi peeking into this could actually yield them a kill, but Stefan's been clever. He's been canny, but simple. Takes the head off Mycast. That's the AWP to fall. That's going to have to be picked up in a few moments here. PENTA might make use of that one, but Simple doing work with the Deagle. Good damage put across the line. Stefan, obviously, with those 2 kills, at least responding back in, and Flamey decides to take the hand cannon for himself. Molotov doesn't really go where intended, or just back in the corner, so perhaps it was. But Lol, his passage is going to be blocked for the next few moments by the Flames. This is going to allow Guardian to get in behind them, but PENTA are checking this. Lol was lucky to get away with that one, timing just in his favour, but now Guardian has to come in and salvage. Won't get too much more for it there. It's a battered and bruised PENTA at the other end of the round, but they only lose 2 and get another one on the board.
Yeah, and they keep hold of the AWP as well, which is quite nice for Mycast. He doesn't have to worry about that too much, gets that back into hand, and NaVi's money's still not phenomenal. Flamey's not in a good position, either as Guardian, so this could be another double eco, yeah. So going back in with the upgraded pistol is a bit of armored supplement this time, because they can afford it. Buy down to around 3k-ish, just below there for Simple. He can just pick up the rifle next round, doesn't need too much utility. But beside that, 4-1 here. So again, still looking to try and catch out PENTA, or maybe a I guess miscalculated B hit if they went for it, but no, PENTA gonna go work through middle, but Crystal's very alone. He could be caught out here. He's playing up by drop, so keep your eyes towards that as well. There's 4 players pushing up through B, so again, he's got to be really, really cautious here. He doesn't have that teammate to trade with him now, but he seems aware this could be an issue. Yeah,
very different playstyle for PENTA here, at least for Crystal. Over on their side, very much prepared to get pushed, get aggressed on. NaVi don't really put anyone in drop room. If we notice that Seized always sort of sits outside, well and truly in hopefully safe positions, but Crystal made life hard from the last couple of rounds. So wise for Crystal here, maybe to just expect or read into potential aggression. And the man on your screen, Seized, is that a risk of being enveloped here by PENTA as they approach? There are a couple of players testing towards mid and one on danger, so Simple. Got to get more than he bargained for with that peak, and he definitely does. It's going to be low to take him.
No one's checking long, though, so Seized could do something. It depends on timing, as does most of CS, but he could have come around the back at a really nice time. Flamey catches out Crystal. That's a nice recovery. That's a gun to hand. So the retake's going to be pretty dangerous. Tarsin, careful. Okay, he hits the shot. That got a little bit terrifying. But you can see NaVi hunting this one down. They know that PENTA's money's still a little bit here, there, and everywhere, but they want to keep hold of that rifle too. So Guardian probably going to back away with that, go sit in the tower or something, somewhere where they can't really find him. And Flamey and Edward are going to be almost the bodyguards. Just sit close enough that if they try and get exits here for PENTA, they could be punished, or at least they can still do damage with these pistols.
Unlikely that we're going to see too much more out of NaVi here. Tarsin will go looking, but unlikely he looks further than that corner. No, just a quick peek, a back away. Lol briefly dips his toes into the water, as it were, over towards danger, and that'll be enough for PENTA. They're more than happy with that one. Fortunately for them, they've managed to put NaVi in a double eco situation, should I say, and that's going to make the score look a lot more competitive here for the predominantly German side. NaVi, 6 rounds to their name, but have had a bit of a drought in recent times. That save, though, is going to allow them to buy up a little bit more. There's one player who doesn't have to rebuy a rifle either, so that will assist.
Starting to get a little bit better here for PENTA. This is enough of a buffer-ish. It's
straight into double AWP. Straight in.
No messing around. No messing around. All right, we'll see how this one goes. Tarsin's got the AWP. Does he have a spawn for it or something? I don't know why he's picked this one up.
No, not.
Okay. So Tarsin's AWPing, not Mycast, who started to do pretty well with it as well. I'm kind of surprised to see that switch up coming in, but maybe just feeling like they can do something different with this. And now Simple's got to be careful here, because these nades and these mollies could find him really easy, and they do. And a little bit of an overstep there with the AWP. It did nicely before for him, but he hasn't really had much of a play with it yet. He's only been kind of doing those bit of a spam here and there, trying to get that wall bang going. You can see the pre-aim coming out towards that same boosted corner. No one's there this time. They're further back by drop. And it looks like what we saw before, this kind of split towards A, where actually last time around the drop players had the vast amount of success, which was quite surprising. Crystal and Stefan, they came up with the goods, but Stefan normally kind of entries himself in towards that one, but it looks like Crystal's the one tendering first. But now NaVi have been put on notice, pretty much. They have to kind of make a bit of a gamble themselves, put themselves towards one of these sites, because at the moment they've left, well, just Seized towards B, and this is a good read from PENTA, whether they know it or not so far. They're getting a good feel that actually this could be a great site to hit. As long as they get past Seized, the site is theirs.
to be fair, Navi have no idea, really. Flamey backed away from the B site, maybe just in a position where he could both watch drop and quickly rotate towards AF required. Bit of a Swiss Army knife position there as well, but seized a couple of bullets come skittering through the box there. Now realising he's under pressure, he knows where those traces came from, but the shot misses and the jump up there as well. Probably not what he was wanting. Maybe even the mouse wheel caught him out there. It's going to be LOL to find Guardian in the end, and now Edward has to try and get himself out of the A site before he can even worry about helping Flamey at B, who is very low, trying to use the pop plants for some sort of cover, but it's not going to do the job. Edward now in the 1v3, gets himself the AWP, but might not get to keep it here. A shot through the door just goes past Crystal's left shoulder. And it definitely will be challenging, definitely will be falling there, as Edward is a bit of a keen eye when that situation comes around. But again, the man looks around and says, well, I don't really know where these guys are still coming from. They've had so much time to spread out now after the plant. Penta have kept NaVi in the dark for most of the round, and getting that first kill on towards Simple there without him even knowing what hit him was an excellent way to start it off.
The thing is, they'll probably see Mike S, and then Tarsin should find the kill. But timing is going to be, again, pretty close on this one. Mike S is going to have to... Well, he doesn't know he's going to sacrifice himself, but if he steps over, he probably is about to die. Now he has to look at Tarsin. Can Tarsin find this quick enough? He's going to make noise running for this. Edward doesn't expect it, and Tarsin will get the job done. AWP has been removed away from NaVi, and their money isn't good. They could have maybe forced around that or done something with that. Now, without it, you've got Simple sitting on good money, but no one else. So just maybe upgraded pistols or a couple of flashes. But I don't think they want to get much down below 3K here. So again, just Guardian so far on a Deagle.
It's similar to what you see, like, for example, Penta are in the same financial situation and still bought an AK, Galil, Deagles, and were able to force that, right? On the CT side, you can't really afford that at all. There's no guarantee that that money's actually going to attain any value in itself, and you might be just throwing it away. So, yeah, NaVi, in a similar situation, have to be far more conservative with their funds here. Now we're going to game on our hands, Lauren. Big time. LOL, with a bit of early information, finds Guardian forging a little bit too far.
That's so good for Penta here. It means that one, Simple and Edward instantly try and fall back because they may be read into, that's got to be an A here, or maybe there's a chance we can isolate these people to do something with it. No, no, no. Penta have got themselves towards B. They got the kills that they needed to open up the site. This is nice from them. They haven't had to expend too much of their utility either, so it's going to be a light reinvestment for them into the next round, making the assumption they don't lose out on too many players, that is.
Like max 600 a player.
Yeah, that's really, really good stuff from them. So they've actually been able to stabilize quite substantially after what was, starting to look a little bit worrying. The first 3 rounds were close, but then you saw NaVi going through the motions. You started to see that bigger play coming through. But at the moment, Penta are doing really nicely again, and their CT side was the stronger side. If you looked at their earlier games, their T side was a little bit, I think predictable is the wrong word, but it was a little bit ropey. They kept, doing that A hit, running up against Mousebots and kept getting just dismantled by them. But now this is a nicer display. 6-5 is a really good scoreline for them. Again, it's just how do they transfer? Do they have the depth to be able to take on NaVi on the second half? That's yet to be seen. But for now, this is a good game from them. And Edward and Simple don't get anything. Sure, Penta will say, all right, we'll take the damage from the bomb, just to, just sit there and make sure we don't give them any guns, make sure we keep all of ours, and we'll be fine buying into the next round. And look at this reinvestment. It's so light. Sod all invested. No one's invested more than 1,000 on this reinvestment here, and that was LOL buying everything he needed again. Yeah. On the other side for NaVi, it's a huge reinvestment. You've got the double ops coming back out. Simple maybe considering a mid-peak then, but maybe being told, no, this is not yours, this is Guardian's. Get over towards B and hold it down, because so far Simple isn't having the big impact that I hoped for with this AWP. So a bit of a different start here, playing from the statue now. Yeah,
I mean, an early Molotov means he's got no chance of really getting onto that platform in any reasonable span of time. Probably wasn't even a great spawn for him to get there in the first place now. Couple flashes down, and this looks like a bit of an execute coming out of Penta, but Simple wasn't flashed at all. Now he is blinded, but he still gets the first kill. Still puts Penta on the ropes, at least in a way, slows him down.
LOL's on a good flank too, but Guardian's aware of this, so keep your eyes on that in the background. There it is. LOL will find Guardian. Now it's going to really split up NaVi. Penta can hit the brakes a little bit and just see where they get the next couple of kills if they get them. LOL's trying to sell this is still an A hit coming in, and actually the rotate's coming through. NaVi are pulling all their players here, and LOL is just going to say, guys, all I've got is the side room. They can still go by through the drop. They can still get in here from that balcony area, but Simple finds LOL, and now it's down to Crystal and Tarsin on the cross, and this is going to be incredibly tough. Tarsin at least will find Flamey, and Tarsin will find Simple. This guy's doing what he can now. He's in a 1v2, but the bomb is in a really tricky spot. CZ out, gets down Edward. It's a 1v1. Seized, almost walked into that. I believe that could have happened. Seized, keeps it together. NaVi keep the advantage, but that came down to one player.
It was nicely done by Tarsin there as well. Knowing he was in a 2v1 with an AWP, kept himself mobile, goes for the CZ and actually manages to get the gambit to pay off for him. Now, PENTA, I mean, they still buy up and have 4K left, so that's just, you know, in general anyway, that shows how well they're able to weather the storm of NaVi in the last few rounds and build up a bit of bank. And now NaVi can't get the double AWP that they had last round despite winning it out. So it's going to be Edward here with a P90, which obviously has its uses, but Guardian, that AWP definitely coming into its own there. A good way to start off, but Guardian, more times than not, has died trying to do that same thing in the last few rounds.
I don't think... Well, this is dangerous. Oh, of course. Do you know what? It's a risky peek. He might already be holding the angle, but I'm Guardian, and I'll still hit the shot. Crystal will find C's not Guardian, so he's still alive, but PENTA are desperate to try and claw some of these frags back because they're operating at such a deficit at the moment, but they can still kind of stack themselves up and try and hit a site with better odds. Being in this sort of situation, they can pull 3 players together and go, all right, one of you go drop, 2 of us go platform. Let's try and overwhelm, let's try and do something here, but Simple in a really nice spot. Boosted up towards that kind of box area by the tree, he can just dominate platform. It's very hard. It's not the first place you check. You still have to look everywhere else, but it's drop that actually opens up for them. Now Simple is pretty exposed. Now he's in a really awkward predicament. It went from a very powerful spot to one that's quite tricky. The flash comes out, he has to turn it, but he still comes back and finds Crystal, but gets overwhelmed. It's down to a 2v2. This was a huge advantage for NaVi, and that slipped away.
And that was Guardian getting those early kills as well, but things fell apart. The one round that Flamey actually challenges inside drop room, he gets taken down. Normally, he's very patient about it. He plays from the outside, plays from connector, leaves himself as someone who can rotate quickly between sides, but Edward, this can't end well. I don't know if he really has the time to check the corner, but he actually gets on towards Tarson at least, so gives away the GOAT. Now Guardian knows where LoL is, but what? Can't see
he can still do this. If LoL oversteps, this is, oh my god, this is so risky. You can see LoL is just bricking it, let's be honest. Guardian is hunting this one down. He's a man who'll hit this shot. He doesn't have a kit though, so time is everything, and LoL holds on. Nerves may have been playing up a little bit there. It started to look a little bit terrifying, but they've done enough to break the back of NaVi again. Look at their money, it's gone. This round coming in here, which is, you know, the last and a half, is going to be a really shoddy buy from them. It's everything they can get, but it's still not great. And for PENTA, it's perfect. They have all that they need here, everything in their arsenal. So yeah, this is kind of worrying.
Right, PENTA, you have my attention. I think you have probably a few people's attentions by now. An even game it is in the last 1.5 sees PENTA with a bit of a money bonus here. They've made use of this T side as much as they possibly can, and now, like you said, NaVi don't have a heck of a lot to work with here. Just the pistols coming out, armor for a few people, and 2 flashes, a solitary 2. We've seen Simple at least able to get 1 kill over in this position on a few occasions here. The drop flash comes out nicely, seized again, gets pasted as he tries to hold up against the AK fire Crystal. It's not going to work out. And Simple, the next challenger, appears. A lot of emphasis towards drop here for NaVi. I mean, it's been a bit of a weak point for them in the last few rounds, to be honest with you. And that's Crystal, though, finds Simple. He goes down. Flamey can't do anything there except fall to his own namesake, and it's going to be Guardian now. Well, with the Deagle, out of position even, going to try to go for a flank, but you know Mike S will be watching. And he can hear this movement as well. Be ready for this one. Second shot comes in for Guardian, neither really connected in any meaningful manner, and halftime comes up here. PENTA, 3-11 so far in the ESL Pro League, 8 and 7 in front.
I don't know what to say. It started out looking like what we expected. We thought this was going to be a bit of a NaVi dominant map. You know, you saw the first 3 rounds being close, but going NaVi's way, kind of highlighting PENTA's history on this map as of late.
Sure.
But they stabilized, they came back into it. Simple not having the impact I just want on that CT side yet. Maybe getting used to the position he's playing in, getting used to how he works on this one. It's the first time we're seeing NaVi with Simple on this map. So again, going to be fun on the T side here for NaVi. They've got to bring their A game now.
Exactly right. PENTA, well, they're allowed to go into bomb sides with a man advantage for most of the half, but let's see how the flip side of the coin looks in the second. We'll be back after a short break. Don't go too far. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ESL Pro League. It's been PENTA not showing too much respect to NaVi here in the first half of Cobblestone, and actually impressing us a lot with an 8-round start on that T side. Now, NaVi, to be fair, looked a little bit dishevelled in the first half. It's been a little while since they played Cobblestone itself.
Yeah.
But you have to be impressed with what PENTA have been able to produce so far.
Yeah, let's be honest, it's all about the end result, but so far it has been a nice display from PENTA. It's about closing, which has been their biggest issue so far throughout the Pro League. Yeah. They get this close, they get even closer than this in previous games. You know, they'll be right on the verge of being able to almost get that game, and it goes to overtimes, but they never seem to get the victories. This is the big problem. And also, their pistol rounds on this map have not been phenomenal just yet. Let's be very real about it. Percentage-wise, it doesn't look good for them in this, but they still bring back these games in the gun round. So eyes on this one. NaVi coming back in on the T side, they've got to have a little bit of, you know, fuel to the fire now. They've got to actually bring their A game. They may have been, you know, cruising a little bit in their mind. Ah, it's just PENTA, don't worry about it. You know, these guys, they're in 13th place, but you've got to now switch on here, and NaVi picking up the pace is straight up long, and my guess gets fed the kill. Edward just doesn't check it, just doesn't think it's possible, but PENTA with a 3-stack on long, this pays off and then some.
It's not that NaVi have been underestimating PENTA skill-wise, they're just not expecting them to be in some of the locations that they are. To be fair, you want to check that, Edward, generally speaking, on a round like this one, but no, not going to work out. Mike S ferreted away in the corner, able to get himself a kill to start things off. My lord, is it one-tap City? Stefan gets one on towards C's. Now only 3 players left for NaVi. They're at least grouped up. That is something. But they're going to try and challenge on towards Tarsin. The flash six. Okay, guys, enough of that. Guardian manages to respond though on towards Tarsin. And Simple gets it towards Stefan. So 2v3 now. NaVi trying to drag it back here. But now they have to work at long range up against these USPs. And they can't even really get access to this site yet.
Don't write off Guardian with a USPS. I've done this before, and I've lived to face the consequences. So Simple's got the push-through drop. That cuts off one avenue of attack. He doesn't land the shot cleanly, but finally Lowell does the job, and Mike S will find Guardian. Nicely timed from Mike S on the flank then, and credit goes to him. He picked up that first at long towards Edward, and then played it really nicely towards the site. So while, you know, Lowell was working his way through, they even had a kit on Lowell. So even if that got closer time-wise, they could have still pulled that through. And what a turn of events. PENTA had only won one pistol round on this map out of 6, you know, throughout what they played recently. So this for them is a buffer they don't normally get to work with. They normally have to fight against, you know, through that deficit of those 3 rounds. So this is an even bigger picture. This suddenly goes, okay, well, guys, we've actually got a really good position here.
That's a huge way as well, and they might get to stretch their legs over the next few rounds. Now, to be fair, NaVi had the bomb plant, so they don't really have to sit, you know, on these pistols for too long now. You notice they're not really forcing up following that last round, not in a big way anyway. So they are just going to play it safe, play it sensible, play it cool.
So it looks like Guardian's going to flash in the rest of NaVi here, try and just overwhelm middle, see if they can catch anyone out playing close. It's simply to try and get a gun away or get a chance in towards this map. So here's the flash. They turn it, go in. No one's really there. They're playing a little bit further back. I like the idea from PENTA, even though they do have a couple of SMGs. There are a couple of rifles. Crystal, don't overextend on this. You don't want to lose this one. You've got to be pretty careful here, but he does have the support. Mike S comes in with really good timing. Tarsin denied long, smoked down, said, no, you're not coming through this way. You need to just funnel yourself through, go into that meat grinder, and Stefan, still, UMP at the forefront, runs out of bullets. Edward will find it, but Mike S is there. This is a really fast-track way for Mike S to get a comfortable ult at this point, and Simple, done and dusted. Good stuff from PENTA. Clean round there will make them stabilize a little more, means they can get a decent buy coming into the, you know, the gun round that they know there's going to be coming up here. I wonder if they're going to be risky enough to sit on this. Because I know a couple of them can't upgrade, but if a few can, so they might have to go for a couple of rifles, because you can't underestimate NaVi, but you obviously want to keep some of that bank, some of that reward.
Yeah, I mean, pistol round bomb plants in general, even in losing rounds, give quite interesting situations in sort of the 2nd or 3rd round of that particular half. And we actually see NaVi come into this round essentially better armed, maybe not in terms of utility, but in terms of weapons here, than PENTA. Obviously, there's still money bought up for, you know, a decent amount of PENTA in this stage. They didn't lose too much last round, despite some, well, characteristic aggression, we'll say, there from Crystal. He does like to bite off a little bit more than he can chew at times. But Guardian with 4 players, well, NaVi, should I say, with 4 players, and Guardian in tow around on towards this A side, even dragging C's to cross.
But the thing is, there's 3 players here for PENTA. This is, it's either a good read or just what they know maybe NaVi to do in these rounds, how they look at it. Because if you're PENTA, you will look at NaVi. You'll sit there and go, okay, let's just have a watch of how they like to approach this map. And maybe this is something they know happens. It's not uncommon for NaVi to do this. But Stefan's starting to maybe think, I'm not sure. I think 2's maybe enough here, but it's allowed the likes of Guardian to sneak up. No one is watching middle. They're both stacked on long. This is a huge problem. Mykes and Tarsin could be in trouble. Once they turn around, everything's going to fall apart, and there it is, seized. Does only find one. Mykes is still alive, and the bomb's still down at long. Flamey and Guardian, though, are right in between them both. This is where it gets deadly. They can split this one up, and now LoL's on the long flank. Crystal has to stay alive here, too.
They're looking for good communication right now, NaVi, as they have to play back-to-back essentially over on these sides. But Guardian overwhelms Crystal. He will be traded out. LoL finds him as he makes his way up from middle, but only a UMP really up against Flamey, who even has himself a pocket flame to throw in a few moments if he needs it. But I mean, LoL has his kit, so he has a bit more time. You know, when you play into a situation knowing you've got a kit, even an AK on top of that now, the stage is evened a little bit more.
Playing cannons. This is such a nice position to watch the cross. It gives LoL such a small opportunity to check for it. And there it is. A nice lineup for Flamey. Playing that position is so nice to watch the push through. You've got middle under wraps. You've got the close push as well. It's not necessarily the last place you check, but you have to really commit to the angle to even get round to it. So this means that NaVi are back in this one, but a close round between the two. If you're in Penta's shoes, money's a bit here, there, and everywhere. You might as well kind of go through the motions on this one. You've got two players who can't really buy too much, which was Tarsin and Stefan. Everyone else can get close enough by, but NaVi's money isn't phenomenal either. You can try and pull this one back into your favor, but they've got to be careful to not fall into that trap of just, constantly buying because they have close rounds. But let's see what they go for here. As already, Simple's keeping his eyes trained towards A, but no one's pushing it, and it's a 4-1 split.
Well, NaVi has struggled to get much out of sort of force rounds or pistol rounds themselves on that first half there, of course. For CTs, it can be a little bit tricky sometimes, especially if you're overwhelmed or sort of out-rotated for that matter. So Flamey, Molotov out. Standard location there. Well, he probably knows that Crystal sitting down towards the end. If you want to make, a FAMAS or a pistol do really good work, this is a place to be standing. So NaVi are wise to this.
Yeah, and NaVi don't have the mollies to clear it, so they have to keep it in mind. If they do hit that B side, they've got to check for it. But NaVi have plenty of time to play with here, and they know that if they play a little slower, which, hey, it's NaVi, you don't have to ask them twice to do that sort of thing. The utility's going to run pretty dry here for Penta. They didn't have much to invest into it at the start, so by this point, if you see a couple of flashes, smokes being used, Tarsin saw that. Oh my word, Tarsin, that was sick. All right, he finds Guardian. That's going to raise the alarm bells, though, because they've got to know that now NaVi, they've got to be looking towards A, and no one's rotated for Penta. Tarsin's still all alone. He's going to be calling out. These guys are coming towards site. Help me out here. But Seized and Flamey have been unleashed, and Penta just too late to respond.
Yeah, that's right. And now with players for NaVi inside connector, they just cut off all the reinforcements. Every rotator has to walk into a hail of bullets here from Flamey for the most part. And most of Penta, or especially Crystal in that round, or sorry, Tarsin, was unarmored. So very, very hard for him to stay alive for any reasonable amount of time at all. Crystal. This is a pretty crappy position to play from when you've got a site taken, but I mean, there aren't really any good ones in this case. It's simply going to be able to mow him down there easily enough. So NaVi bringing it back there. Losing the pistol round, bit of a blip on the radar. Still taking it in their stride.
And now Guardian's trying to build up some money for himself. He needs to look towards the AWP for him. To feel comfortable, you've got to feel that's going to be on the horizon. So Mac 10 coming out, he wants to be very much at the forefront of finding ways to get kills here, to build up that money as quick as he can, because he knows that Penta are going to be without armor, maybe upgraded pistols, maybe a flash or two. Hopefully someone flashes Guardian in here. He's going anti-flash, so actually, no, he's not. There it is, coming in from Simple, and it does set him up really nicely towards Crystal, but he can't make much more of that. Mike S will trade it out, but it's not much recovered here. It's a Mac 10. It's far from perfect, but a kill's a kill for Penta.
Yeah, ideal situation. If you're going to lose a gun, may as well be this one, especially when you're all armored up here. But again, Penta playing in with double peaks. Simple put into a bit of a compromising position. Squeezed up into the corner now is to make it work with a pistol. He can't get it done. The Mac 10 there now comes in onto its own. And now Penta can add an AK-47 to their arsenal. But in doing so, most of them were cut down on the B site. NaVi been able to take control, so Penta will just toddle off with these weapons and hold on to them for now.
Yeah, Micus can still sit close enough. He's kind of the tripwire for LoL to get worried at any point. The bomb's ticking pretty quickly by this point, so he should be fine. But yeah, LoL's the one you want to keep alive here. He's the one that has that rifle, of course, and just sitting up by the tower. He should be perfectly fine. And yeah, Navi's brought this back now. So we're seeing NaVi kind of making the most of what they had, and it's worked out well for them. Penta, on the other hand, it's about longevity now. It's about them kind of stabilizing a bit here, trying to, get back into the game, calm it down a bit, because their gun rounds have been good, but they haven't had that full set to work with just yet. I want to look at, towards the AWP coming out. I want to see how Mike S fares. Do we get to see that same sort of power? He's not going to be able to even get it into this round. So again, Penta haven't had that full money, but now at least they've got a bit more utility to weather the storm. Last time, NaVi worked that down and then just hit the site pretty well, but NaVi still a really good buy. Guardian's got the AWP. They basically got everything they want here.
And NaVi are the kind of team that wants you to expend your utility early on. They want to spook you. They want to sort of force your hand in terms of backing away and trying to stall out because they know that they can outlast you, or they often do in these rounds. So, speaking of the aforementioned utility, we're seeing a very small amount of it expended here. Edward, I don't mind that one at all. A bit of Molotov into the cheeky corner would have helped in the pistol round. No one to be burnt.
About to say, Mike S, if you're there again. If
You
you dare.
rotter.
All right, so let's look at what Penta are doing so far. They haven't got much of a read. Their CT side aggression at this point has been pretty non-existent. NaVi haven't been giving them many opportunities. They haven't particularly pushed too far. They haven't taken much control yet over the map either. And they're going to just stack out on A, pretty much. You've got 3 players. They're quite rare. You've got 3 players dedicated towards long. That's a bit of a rarity, and NaVi are actually rotating away from it, and that's the problem. It's going to leave Lol and Mike S to come up with something. Now, I gave Lol a lot of credit for how he played actually on that B site. So he's who my eyes are on, but he needs Mike S to cover off drop as well. It has to all come together. Now they're going to start seeing that molly go down. This should be a good display. Penta are actually rotating right through to this. They're going to commit off the back of it because there's 40 seconds left. They have to go soon. Now, a couple of smokes and a flash left for Penta, and there's one of them put in. Delays the hit. That's perfect. And Lol now has to be doing the damage as soon as they step through that platform because they're going to be just spotting towards this. And here we go, 29 seconds. That's the Lol I wanted to see. Finally comes up with what he needs. Simple will deny it, but now NaVi have to break through towards the site. Oh my God.
Still possible though, trading through. It's 2 players up here for NaVi right now, and Edward's got himself close. He might be able to catch Tarson by surprise, but a very astute shoulder peek gives Tarson a fighting chance in that duel. Now sees with only 11 points of health, he's going to be put out of his misery, and Penta have to be patient on it. They managed to buy back in on Lol with a beautiful double spray down. Makes it happen there. Good flash in, just a precursor to that play. But when NaVi may play so late towards a bomb site, then Penta don't need much of a tip-off to know we need to send 5 players to B.
Yeah, this is good for Penta now. If they start to get a feel of it, I kind of like how they stack out A a little bit, but it has to be, you know, the rotates has to be really, really quick. You have to, as soon as you get the info, you've got to play off the back of it, which is dangerous because what if they're kind of faking it? But again, NaVi play so late in the round, you can kind of make, yeah, it's a little bit of a risk-reward, right? It's all about the percentage chance of it actually working out. Lol takes so much damage to get up here, though. And they do have nades, they do have mollies. This is certainly not a safe position. It's not even in the corner, so a molly wouldn't really reach him. But this is so dangerous.
If he gets away with this.
Yeah, he'll literally get away with murder if he does this. And it is that kind of same sort of hit coming out from NaVi. That molly's going to do well, but Lol's given away his position now. Has to back off from it. He sees the smokes coming in, trying to be a little bit aggressive on the CT side, but it isn't the direct hit from NaVi yet. They've still got Guardian over by A. They could still rotate off the back of this. NaVi looking towards drop now, maybe going to do an A split. Work off the back of Guardian, getting good control towards middle. So it's down to Mike S, Stefan, and Tarsin. They've got loads of players watching this angle. This is a problem. The bomb's in C's hands, and he's surrounded. This is great from Penta. They have everything locked down, but maybe Guardian can break back in, but only 50 seconds left. Yeah,
not enough time, really, with the bomb dropped at Stefan's feet in connector. It's going to take a mammoth effort here for NaVi to even be able to recover that, let alone plant the damn thing. Simple, a bit of a decoy flash out the window here. NaVi not playing well around drop at all this game, if I'm honest with you. And Edward just contemplating his navel. He's like, I don't know, boys. I'm going to go to the chive.com and just chill for a sec. That's all on Simple, at least for the moment, in that regard anyway. Some quality content on the chive. I don't blame the man, but he's going to try and flash himself through now. He's found Tarson, but just the one. And then Edward decides to make his move. And that wasn't silent.
1v3, Edward. No worries, you've got about 10 seconds to do it. You've got 1 flash. I've seen you win these.
I've seen you win these, boy.
12 to 10, Penta, stop it. Penta get themselves in a really good position. This has broken the back of NaVi's kind of resurgence that we saw earlier, coming back into it once those first couple of gun rounds came through. Now their money's been depleted back down to 3K, 4K max. It's not much, so they have to kind of sit on this one now. For Penta, you want a clean round here. They need to kind of get, you know, that dominance building. They need to feel comfortable on this CT side because this is the best position they've been in a long time. So NaVi now, what are you going to do with this? That looks like the kind of NIP style smokes you see playing in the likes of Seized and Flamey.
Thought about it, yeah, with Guardian was standing. Yeah, I mean, that's been the issue for Penta, right, hasn't it? Closing the deal in a big way. But actually, Guardian, yeah, he's thinking about it. Now, whether this is really a precursor to anything major or not remains to be seen. But the fact is, T-side, buying up a lot of smokes here. There's still 3 remaining, so everyone getting in on that action. Guardian, not sure. When's the call going to come in? Yeah, I reckon they're trying to set up a play towards A, potentially.
It's meant to sell that this is a B hit. basically, at least to my eyes, because then you'll have a fast player quicker towards A. That's simple as it is. Guardian's going to smoke that. Once the bomb's been brought to a position he can pick up and join them on, they're basically baiting Flamey and C's to not succeed almost here at this point. If they do, it's going to be, you know, pretty brilliant for themselves. But as soon as these smokes come in, they should read into it. But maybe Penta have a good idea where these are coming from if they can. Again, it's hard to read that lineup, but let's see. See if Mike S or Stefan actually move off A. They're not at the moment, and this is a nice A split, actually, what they've got going on here. Flamey's made it through by through drop by the door now, so it actually means a lot of pressure about to come in towards Tarsin. He's got pressure left, right, and center. Plays to right, plays to left, and he can't win either of those battles, leaving it down to 3 now for Penta.
Yeah, Stefan has to do a heck of a lot of work now out from the window. Flamey just a quick peek just to let him know he's there, but that's all not a chance to send any bullets back in response. And a couple AKs here in the hands for NaVi. Can they make them do work? That's the question. It's a 2v2 with the bomb down. This is an excellent situation for NaVi, considering where they came from. And Guardian only needs 1 shot. And he gets one now, looking for the second. Not going to quite find that on towards Lol now, who has a kit, so he has time to burn. He can play with Guardian, but where'd that come from? Straight over the top, Lol. Didn't know what hit him there. And you're right, at least in one of the rounds, saying that you win these if you're Guardian. That's NaVi winning a round that absolutely no business winning. A very cheeky attempt at a fake there. It looked pretty unconvincing from our end there, as we did see just Edward lob over the smoke, but my God, it works.
Yeah, and now Penta's in double eco territory, so this should be NaVi taking back the lead here, making the assumption that obviously Penta don't just turn these rounds. It shouldn't happen, but that was a really nice round actually from NaVi. I actually like seeing them come up with these sort of plans and seeing these sort of kind of quirkier plays. I like that, but got to be careful. They don't lose out much here either. Their money's certainly not too phenomenal just yet either. Both these teams going backward and forward, and any sort of loss in this one would be a bit of a blow towards NaVi. So for them, good start. Guardian finds Tarsin, just that slow play through. They're clearing together. You've got Edward and Simple working off the back of each other. And now Mike S going to try and do something. Actually catches Edward with, I think there's a flash in hand or something along those lines, because he does eventually get traded out on. But here we go, Lol's chance. Not going to find it. There we go. So this should be all but wrapped up. Stefan's on B. The bomb's heading towards A. But as said, any damage done is good in this. You're not expecting to walk away with too much.
P250 headshots. Tell you what, they're pretty nasty, but it's going to be Stefan with a 5-7 and armor, and in a relatively compromising position now. The bonus is that, well, NaVi don't really know where he is at this stage. And he hasn't even yet committed here in towards storage. He doesn't actually know if NaVi will have anyone on lookout here. He'll have Simple very, very close by. A little bit of a gap there. Would have been enough to at least get the headshot, but no, it'd be Simple to take him down. And yeah, you're a little bit concerned if you're Penta now. I mean, this is solidly in double eco territory here, which happens. I mean, NaVi had to weather that particular storm themselves in that first half, but not great for Penta when we get into such a crucial point in the game, a tipping point, if you will.
Yeah, NaVi, the money's starting to look better and better. You've got Guardian on 6k, Simple almost on 5k here. They're starting to get that buffer where they can just buy back through this. For Penta, it's a lot of nades. You've kind of got the just all nade maybe platform. I'm not sure how they're going to approach if they try and nade somewhere together. I might just go for the deep nade towards drop and stack out by drop pretty much. 2 players very, very present. Lol playing statue and Crystal playing by the door. So it's kind of centralizing around that. But NaVi taking 3 players up long. It looks like, again, another A split coming out for NaVi. And why not? If it works, it works.
All those leave... Yeah, actually, Flamey even thinking about it. Maybe they even leave C's to B. Flamey scoops up the bomb, goes towards A. I mean, that's the thing. It's Cobblestone. You can sort of have a palette of options to select from here on the T side, which is why a lot of people prefer to play it. But it does seem to be the case, yeah. Leave C's here as a bit of a backstop towards B, but this hasn't really tricked Penta. This hasn't really fooled them at all. The only utility was used at B, yet they've got 4 people here ready to receive a long push. Good read. Let's see if it plays out the way they'd like to see it.
Well, we'll find out soon. And already Guardian going to find Stefan. Simple, making it look easy towards long, and it is pretty much the cleanup crew. NaVi making very much light work of Penta, even though it was a good read into what they were doing. They had the players in the right place. It doesn't mean it equates to a round at this point. They only had, you know, pistols. They didn't even have the armor or much else with it. So this one is sealed, unless Lol pulls off a miracle, which I don't see happening. But for him, it's about making, you know, a little bit of extra money if possible, hoping that someone split through drop a little late, goes out lurking, trying to find him, but he's not going to get much action here.
Yeah, the biggest risk that NaVi really faced in this round was when Simple was caught spraying at a player behind a corner, but there was another player with him there. I believe it was Guardian, so... Oh, Edward, should I say, to pick up that kill. So, plenty of safety net there for NaVi. And there's definitely set some, you know, with the stone's throw, pretty much tying this one up here. Penta will buy. No, tying it up, like finishing it all, I guess it's a bit... misleading. But bomb going to be counting down now. Lol, no armor. No, nothing really except for the pistol. And again, extra money would be nice, but he won't have any of it. It's going to be simple. Takes him down. And PENTA, like you said, after that double eco, going to be able to buy into this round. But again, shaky territory, and they could be putting back in the same situation if they make a big investment here and get nothing for it.
Yeah, this is where you start to get really ground down. NaVi are taking the helm in this. They've really started to pick it up. 3 rounds back-to-back now, looking pretty comfortable, starting to get into the swing of things. There was double eco there for PENTA, so again, there's certainly time for a little bit of a turnaround here for PENTA, but it has to start now. Only 2 kits as well for PENTA, so got to be careful with the timing on this one. Got to be very present. It looks like NaVi going for quite a decisive play towards B here. We might see those fast smokes being lined up, or fast for NaVi, should I say, being lined up and put down. As really they've got no one lurking, no one showing presence on A, so you can already see Stefan like, we have no indicators here. I might as well play by door, or try and commit somewhere, because the smokes are coming over, they're going to see this, but Edward's already out. He catches them by surprise. I love that play. Edward, real confidence coming through. Crystal caught with his pants down there, but amongst a bit of a mayhem, Mykes has found an angle and somehow denies Edward any further steps.
He's going to trade that AWP out for an AK now, as well as the fight. He's going to get down and dirty here on the side. Mykes gets another one, and he manages to take such advanced position here, sees the bomb is down. Guardian, not great for him, but somehow he still makes the peak. Mykes wasn't sure that he was there. And it was Guardian with good timing to take the peak, but now he will need to go and get the AWP. Flamey, too much risk for him to cross past this site now at this stage, especially with 2 PENTA players standing vigil. But Tarsin's looking behind him, so he's not certain of where this extra player is. But now you put 2 and 2 together, you see a bomb thrown across, there's 2 players here on this side. And Tarsin finds Flamey now. Guardian has a challenge, he has the AWP, and that's about it. Tarsin is low. No double pick situation there for LoL. He was caught off guard, but Guardian doesn't know where he is. He thinks he's pushed, but he still gets him anyway. He doesn't give a damn. It's a flick across to take down LoL. And that was a huge opportunity for PENTA. They had Guardian fooled, but it wasn't enough.
It's like everything starts looking good for PENTA in that situation, the 1v2. Guardian throws the bomb across, but doesn't quite go far enough, so they have to kind of show to pick it up. And you see a kill come back, and you're like, okay, it's a 2v1 here. PENTA's got a really good situation, but Guardian hits those shots. He always hits those shots. Of course he hits those shots. Whatever happened to him in the last couple of days, he's gone from, beast mode to god tier. This guy is very much, hitting one of those strides that you see Guardian in, and it's so gorgeous to watch. But now, NaVi in a power position. Look at all their money building up here. They've got everything they want in this round. And sadly for PENTA, they're reeling again. This is rounds going back to back for NaVi now. Put them on 14-12. PENTA have just kind of subsided in the last couple of rounds.
And their buy's going to suck, to be fair, next round. They're going to get a little bit of extra money coming through, and they're just going to have to throw everything they can into it. LoL doesn't even have armor here as well, which is obviously, we saw the same on a previous save round. He was at last man standing. So Guardian just wants to go for a bit of an early peek here. Misses the shot, but it's okay. There's not a lot of utility. He's going to get pressured now. With Flamey going down, now Guardian's Vanguard has been destroyed. Really, no one to protect him, and PENTA are actually going to turn this around.
LoL is just not giving up. You've had Guardian stepping up for NaVi, and LoL, I've got to say, it has been finding real pinnacles of form. So for once, not making the mistakes we've seen before, trying to capitalize on NaVi's maybe errors or the slow pace that we can see, but this is actually quite a nice little boost. This could catch out a couple of players. I'm not sure if you're going to expect it at this point, but I don't know. Bombs down. They know where it is, of course, PENTA. So they're going to sit here and go, all right, how are you planning to get back into this? So they are so unaware how close they are. This is ridiculous. They finally see the beat. They've got to realize it's a boost. But no, the kills still come in. Edward's found 2. And it's down to Edward now in the 1v2. LoL's got the ult, but no armor. Stefan has nothing to play with, but it's LoL again, secure the round. They're back in it on a very thin margin now, PENTA. 13-14. They have money to buy. So does NaVi, though. Their money is good on the NaVi side. They are still secure in this one. But finally, a little bit of CT aggression, a little bit of that, crazy kind of ecoed up play, basically. Well, we've got nothing else to lose, so I might as well try and make something happen here. Gives them an opportunity. But it hasn't been working in these gun rounds. They've been ground down. They've been, pretty much outdone by NaVi's play. So it's looking at how this one's starting out. Look at that minimap. It's Tarsin. Tarsin, you better be ready for what's coming your way. You've got 4 players from NaVi looking towards trying to get some control here. He smokes out long. Mykes finds seized on B, and that's a bit of a display here. You're going to see Tarsin working this out. He's heard the steps. Yeah. But will they expect Guardian to be facing already? This is dangerous. LoL going in for the beacon. Tries to get the nade down. That could do some work, and it does right at the feet of Guardian. PENTA are not done. Should I say LoL is not done? That's 2. Finally shut out by Flamey. And should I say Flamey coming back in some style here. Gets given an opportunity, but it gets ripped away by Tarsin and Crystal. A quick rotate. They believed in it. As soon as it was called out, they went straight over towards A. They got that first pickup, and now we're at 14-14. The game is on. And there you go. Matches pause, this talk time between these two teams, because maybe Penta's worked something out. Maybe they finally have that full utility to play into that round. Maybe a little bit of aggression here and there, working out those first picks has given them the chance. But NaVi have looked strong in those last, it was 4 rounds back-to-back there. They went a bit of a streak. It looked like, okay, NaVi are in, they're in that form. You've got Guardian coming on these crazy forms. But you've got to say as well, though, Penta were making errors. It wasn't just simply NaVi playing, this untouchable game. Penta were giving them some opportunities, I feel.
Absolutely.
So if they tighten that sort of issue up, we've already got a great game, but this could be even more competitive.
This is really bad timing for NaVi, money-wise as well. Look at this. I mean, 2,800 for Seized. Guardian and Simple have a little bit, but this buy, and I have to imagine they force this, is going to be very thinly spread over their players. There's not going to be a huge amount to work with here when it comes to raw firepower, at least. We saw what Penta were able to do when they just bought him with a pistol force and they pressured on towards that B long. And the information they gained last round just from killing Seized was enough to know to stack onto this ace site. So if you're NaVi, you're probably just pausing half the time to decide who gets what. Where's the lion's share of this money go? Who's going to be able to have the greatest impact over the map? Because surely they force into this one and don't risk the chance of it going to 15 rounds for Penta.
So generally, NaVi on these rounds have been doing that kind of A split. They'll be going through drop. They'll get kind of players up along. It's been working out really well, actually. It worked out in a couple of rounds before, not too long ago. So NaVi haven't been in this position too much, let's bear in mind. They've generally had the money on this T side, but I don't know. I'm worried for Penta. These situations worry me, right? Because they're the ones that make these errors in these rounds. They're the ones, playing to that kind of danger level, right? It's like we're doing everything. We're super, hyped up because you're 14-14 against NaVi. This is prime time to make individual errors where you overstep or you overreach, you give something up to a Deagle. Suddenly you've got a couple of players coming back in on, Tech 9s, and it all gets a little bit worrying. But if Penta play this out to how they've been doing the last couple of rounds, this could be a huge moment for them to actually get to match point. Now, I'm not going to say they're going to win it. We've seen them do this before. We've seen them go into overtime and lose. But let's look at what NaVi's buying up here, because they can afford to buy, but they have to share the wealth out, but it is going to be shoddy. So we have Galil's rifles. There's going to be very limited utility.
3 AKs floating around.
Let's see what we've got here. So Guardian on a Galil.
Oh my.
Edward's not got much either. He can buy. They can all get a rifle as such, but it means that you have to be very specific with who's got the utility. So we've got the 3 smokes so far: Simple, Guardian, and Seized. You've got 2 mollies, a couple of nades, a couple of flashes, but Edward can't afford anything. Flamey can't afford anything. So they might be almost surplus to this, almost, treated as just kind of guns for hire at this point. You've got to just play them in off the back of that, play them as the ones to make the opportunities happen. But this is what they're going to go for. They're going to take the risk, they're going to take the gamble, and they're going to go in on it. So
what do NaVi do then, Lauren? I mean, are they going to play this round out slow and hope to exhaust some of Penta's utility before they go in? Or is that at a cost of too much investment of their very minimal utility themselves? Do they have to go in fast and make sure that, Penta don't have a chance to wear them down? I'm very interested to see how this plays.
Yeah, here we go. This is going to be such a big round now. Guardian not going to have the AWP to hand. There's been gifted them so many chances. Flash comes in, instant response. They pull out some of that utility already. It's not much, though, and they know it. They're going to have to be doing every small thing right. This has to be perfect from NaVi to make it work. And they're going to hold on to these smokes. They still have 2 left, 1 left, should I say. So they only have the one in Guardian's hands to play off of. They could go for an A hit here. He could smoke out the doors if he goes long. That could be his play, but there's the smoke actually already put down. So his is going to do it again. So they've got that coming in. So it's down to Crystal. It's down to Tarsin. And actually, they have no one pressuring long, but they face early on the flash. Flamey finds it, and Tarsin goes down. NaVi just bulldozer the way towards A.
What a stunning round. Look, they've managed to cut off Connector. Stefan eventually gets to push through as a smoke clears and gets himself 1 kill, but position is prime right now for NaVi. It's going to be Stefan and Mike S hoping to do something with this, but they can't. There's so many players over on the side for NaVi, and they're in power positions. No bomb plant as of yet, as NaVi is still trying to get a feel for where Penta will be coming from here, but that's going to get planted in just a few moments here. Care of Seized. And a flash over the top for Stefan, gets him dinked up, but he actually manages to take down NaVi. It's a 2v3, and Marquez has the AWP. But neither he nor Stefan have options in terms of positions to take up for the retake.
And Guardian's in such a good spot. That smoke will allow them to actually peek to this, but Guardian wants to maybe take the fight first. Basically trade off him. If they actually went for it, they're not. They're backing away. They don't have much money, bearing in mind. So Edward's hunting this one down, and I guess you might as well. If they can take away these 2 guns from them, that sets them up perfectly for what could be the final round coming in. And Edward, I'm not sure if he's going to get given this, because Mike S might be watching it from Chicken Coop. I'm not sure if he is. No, they're holding very, very passive angles, actually. So if anything, they might see Edward first. And see how this one goes down. Edward gonna make it away. He's just left going, where the hell are they? He suddenly went, wait, there's Chicken Coop. That could have been a thing, but no. Look at that money, though. Look at that for Penta. They've gone from, all right, full perfect buy to CZs and nothing nice. This is, oh man, this has got to hurt. But here we go. This is the round. NaVi take it back in some fashion. They went for that crazy aggression towards A.
Pro, that.
Yeah, it really does. Now Micah's going to be kind of played in towards middle, tries to take the fight, takes the peek, and there's no one there. Not that you can see anyway. Almost no information gathered for him there, but it means that they know that they're not coming towards A for now. Lol, can you do it again?
Flash at the feet there, thrown by a Penta player, and well, Lol sees his utility going back over his shoulder, so he's in a great spot to stop this one. He gets one kill through the smoke, but he's looking for more plays. He gets himself a second as well. That might just be enough here. The rest of the Penta reinforcements are going to pressure on towards his site now, or at least try and set up in some way, shape, or form. Crystal forced away. I think he thought a Molotov was thrown over behind him, but NaVi, they're slowing it down a little bit here. They're getting position, and they're looking for peaks.
Stefan needs to play this right. He gets traded out on, okay, 3v2. Seized and simple. What can you do in this one? And there's still Crystal on the side, which is a problem, but I love this boost. It gives them a couple of chances here. Crystal's going to get spotted out. Surely the timing's right, and Crystal sprays in. It's down to Seized. This is surely going to overtime, and there you have it. Seized gets found, 15-15. It's not over yet.
So if I say to you today, I come into the office, Lauren, you know, about 3 or 4, maybe 5, and I say to you, so how do you feel about overtime here between Penta and NaVi in the first map? What do you say?
Yes, please. I'm always happy to see this sort of thing. Like, I think it's so exciting seeing new things with NaVi. One, it's like, okay, first time we're seeing simple kind of introduced, and you're seeing the impact of maybe one player being switched up and a couple of positions being switched up. You know, this is new stuff for NaVi. This is a new way of maybe playing it out. I know their CT side's a little different, how they're approaching it. You've got Edward playing, you know, more off the back of Guardian now. You've got Simple playing by platform. You know, back when it was Zeus playing in the roster is a little bit different there. So again, it's just really interesting to watch. And Penta, the team who's been consistently getting close results, but not closing. Again, we're seeing that. We've gone into overtime rather than closing out because of a couple of issues here and there, but they're playing a stellar game.
They were completely rocked there by that A-sided push from NaVi. In fact, they did it with a very small amount of smokes, which is probably even more impressive. And one of those smokes wasn't even meant for the A side. It was actually thrown towards B to try and keep some Penta players there. You send 2 players towards A. You see NaVi throw the smoke in towards Connector, cuts off the reinforcements. Virtus Pro, as an example, are very good at hitting the A side quickly and confidently and screening off Connector and preventing any sort of quick rotations from coming through, and then just having their way with the limited number of CTs on that site. And then it gets turned around on them. They're Lol in just the quintessential ABC, the Mickey Mouse position even, gets 2 kills and sets up Penta to rotate very quickly back and hold.
I would say as well, going into OT, this could be actually quite nice for Penta in the fact that they'll finally have some money, because they went through that double eco phase. They went through, you know, a lot of stuff coming into it. In the fact that they never had that real stable economy. Once they finally got a little bit more stable, they were able to bring back a couple of rounds, you know, once they got past those little bit of errors here and there. But now if they get that full buy-in, this could be much better. They aren't just at the whim of what NaVi's doing. So, you know, NaVi had the power for quite some time, but again, Penta means they don't have to play out knife rounds. I just saw the knife, I was like, oh, knife rounds. No, pistol
He's trying
rounds.
to upgrade his knife in the trophy cabinet beforehand.
Yeah, exactly. It's a
Get
nice
an advantage.
knife. It's a nice knife, look at that. Look.
Get that one, the longer one. Extra range.
That's it. That's the one. But yeah, I'm excited to see if Penta can keep their nerve. Because if you look at this, who's got more depth, NaVi or Penta? You've got to say NaVi, right? You know, years of experience playing together. But we haven't seen them with this roster. You know, the difference one player can make, you know, introducing someone new to a lineup is quite drastic. It's a big change. It's something that sometimes teams will just assimilate someone almost instantly. You look at like the NIP Michael Ailey thing, that kind of the 2 sides of the coin. You see some teams take a real dive in performance for a little while just because, you know, they're trying to work out how they want to play with this guy, how does he fit into the roster. And this is always the thing, you know, you looked at NaVi, and you say, well, for a while, he literally just stepped right into the same positions as the guy before him, right? Simple as that. He literally just stepped in and played that role. Now, if you're working on trying to get him, you know, a little bit of a new style coming in, get him on that, you know, double AWP presence, new positions coming out, everyone's changing things up. That's a big, you know, difference. It's a big game change here. So NaVi may be working through a couple of things. It might take a little bit of time to get smoothed out, but once they get it down, you've got to feel that's a very powerful lineup.
It's actually quite interesting the way that, you know, the way that NaVi is integrated, Simple, and how it sort of affects the team, because we talk about the honeymoon period a lot. You know, when you sort of bring that new player into a roster and he's relatively skilled and sometimes purely on the fact that your opponents don't really know what to expect from you or can't read maybe what your new style is going to be, you start to win a lot. I mean, for NaVi, a little bit of a different story, though, because they bring Edward, so they bring Simple in, and they have him do exactly what Zeus did, essentially.
Yeah.
They just have him fit a role. So, you know, teams that sort of do their homework or knew how you played beforehand still know how you play. And now this little mix-up here as well for NaVi. It's not exactly been that honeymoon period, really. Some solid performances from them here and there, but this is not where they want to find themselves. But again, they haven't played on this map in a comp game with Simple before. It will take time. But he hasn't really been the issue. I mean, Seized had a very rough last... Well, the whole game actually has been pretty bad from there, 9-21, so not really the scoreline you want.
Here we go, we're going into overtime, 15-15. And this is the game that we were hoping to see. This is what we wanted to see between these two teams. PENTA finally bringing a game where they could actually close this one out, and NaVi being tested with this new man to the roster after making a couple of changes. But PENTA on a good buy here. They get to finally get, you know, what they need in their hands. The likes of the AWP coming very, very easily for Mike there. So Mike S going to be trying to work that one out on towards B. We've got that 3-play stack down long, something that we've seen PENTA doing quite prolifically. And NaVi maybe trying to work around this a little bit. You've got Edward there and Simple there. You've got to be careful to not play into their hands at this point, Simple. Let's see if he can make anything work. Tarsin just off to the right, spraying in. He actually adjusts better than Tarsin was going to make a fresh shot on it, but there you go. Opening pick given over, and they can't trade it out. Unless LoL wants to go crazy through smoke, which not recommended.
Yeah, I don't know how LoL wasn't in a position. We just unfortunately wasn't in a position to get the trade there. I think that was kind of part of the idea with the setup there for PENTA, but LoL just gets dumpstered through the smoke there. And yeah, Crystal's still standing over on A, but NaVi are like, well, 2 men dead at A. We might pressure B here and see if we sort of force some rotations. They don't really know a heck of a lot about where PENTA is set up, despite seeing 2 players expose themselves here over in long A. And, you know, and a street player would assume, okay, well, they've probably got, you know, just the 1 player at B now, as maybe we've seen 2 rotate. Well, make that 0. Mike S gets smashed. This Guardian coming down, and a little bit better from NaVi, looking like a far more responsive performance from them here as they continue on the T side as they did in the last half.
Simple providing such a big opening kill is massive. Now, Stefan's going to try and do... Oh, this is a perfect... If he just sprays just to the left, he's actually stopped planting. This is good. Stefan must have known he's hitting that nade, could do the dot. Oh, it's just too late, and it's just swung past them. So Flamey's on platform. You've got Seized on the flank. Great timing from Seized. He finds Stefan, but spots out Crystal too. And Crystal doesn't actually have a kit. Now, he could have definitely afforded one, so I'm not sure what's gone on with this. And the molly's burning. He can't stand here. Simple as that. He has to take the fight. Now, 1v2. This is almost impossible for him to pull off, but he doesn't expect it. And finally, Edward would find him, but didn't have a kit then in the end as well, and there wasn't one close to the site, so a bit of an error. Yeah,
I mean, perhaps he was trying to, you know, make use of that fact, though, as well. Goes on towards the Molotov, then quickly fakes it through, gets himself a kill, and it was within his grasp. Let's be honest here, Edward, only about 11 on health on the man. Was still enough, though, to allow him to win that fight out. So another close one. NaVi getting cut down to size after opening the round up quite nicely here. Was PENTA board up. They had rifles. They got too aggressive on towards long, and LoL couldn't get a trade. But now, again, they stacked 3 towards long. That's PENTA I'm talking about here. They continue to keep aggression going on that side of the map. Let's see if NaVi want to test those waters again.
And look at the difference of the way Tarsin and LoL are playing this way closer together on long. They are, you know, playing off the back of each other in case Simple comes in. LoL's going to put himself in the corner and just wait. He's basically anti-flash for Tarsin. Tarsin's going to sit here. If he peeks out, he could be in trouble, but no, he actually wins out. Finds Edward. Good start for PENTA. The T-Tours there, but 5v4 now. NaVi have to find a route back in.
So flip side to what NaVi were able to achieve in the previous round over on long A especially. So Simple now has to go in and try and find something. LoL preemptively is rotated already over towards B, so that, you know, raises the odds a little bit more for Simple, but there's still 2 players for him to work into, both of whom have backed off to a degree. Tarsin right back on long A, and now Seized. Drop room has not really been a great spot for NaVi so far in this game, and that trend continues. Seized just wildly trying to spray down towards Stefan and getting nowhere. PENTA reasserting themselves here in this round. NaVi down to Guardian and Simple, and yes, there's a lot of star power between these 2, but it's late in the round, there's 40 seconds left, and they've got to go to this A site.
Okay, so Guardian's going to expend his molly towards door. That will deny a push, or at least, you know, you assume they won't push through that. Now, Simple's going to work up long as well. He's by the wooden kind of doorway, and he's going to peek out, finds Tarsin on the other side. It's down to Guardian in a 1v4. This man can work wonders. This would certainly be one of them. Finding Tarsin on the site is the first step, but 3 more to go. It's a long and dangerous road, Guardian. Stefan could take the peek any second, but Mike S brave enough to take the fight then. And he gets the AWP back as well from Guardian. So they can buy into this one. And, well, NaVi on the other side still fine for money. They can do whatever they want in this, but PENTA needed that round.
Yeah, and unfortunately for NaVi in this case, they still win the first round. If you sort of lose the first 2 in MR3, then you're not looking good. That's when things can get out of control. So not the end of the world for NaVi here. Both teams sort of sitting around the same amount of currency. Guardian gets himself an AWP. Now, again, will we see the same sort of playing towards long? Will we see an attempt for NaVi to find advantages there? But Guardian sits back, lets Tarsin come to him, and the aggression seems to overtake the caller for PENTA, who goes forward and tries to find the info, and instead finds his demise.
PENTA haven't been operating well with a man loss. This is not how you want to begin these ones. And now NaVi in control at this point, desperate to get back that AWP into play. Crystal just trying to take it away, bring it back up. There it is. I wonder if he can pass it off to anyone else. Mikes is behind him, but you know, Crystal can AWP. Let's be real about this. It's what he was known for many, many moons ago, but you wouldn't quite put him to the same platform as Guardian. Let's be very, very real about that here. So Crystal's holding the angle. He's going to see probably the barrel of the gun first if Guardian walks through this. There's 3 players there, and I wonder. There we go. Crystal will find it, flash out in case this one quickly trying to trade off the back. And now Mikes needs to be ready for this one too. Crystal picks up the AWP again, finds some form, and that's the Crystal we were waiting to see. 3 kills with the AWP, looking for his 4th. C steps into it, but he can't hit the shot between the legs. Goes back in with that 5-7. And in the meantime, though, Edwards found Stefan. It's getting a little bit warm in here. Seized. Finding Crystal and leaves it down to Lol to keep safe. But that's what we wanted to see then coming out from Crystal. He was in that bit of an awkward predicament, like, okay, well, I've got the AWP, I'm
That's
at a
where
bit
he
of an angle.
shines. That's
Yeah,
absolutely
exactly.
where Crystal shines. I mean, my favorite play from him is literally getting caught out on Longhouse and Dust 2. We get like 4 no-scopes and 1 through the door. Like, this guy, we talk about Simple being the guy, you know, a battle AWPer. Crystal can do that too, and he's very fond of it. He'll go for the no-scopes. He doesn't care. Very much a fearless player, and that sort of play that can breed a sense of inconsistency, a little bit of danger, is possibly why we've seen Mikes actually pick up the AWPing role here and allow, you know, Crystal just to be a firebrand on the rifle elsewhere on the map here. But we know the man is capable of. I mean, the famed Crystal Cannon is definitely not too far from our minds as 2 casters that saw a lot of him in the Meisterschaft and national competition.
Yeah, I'm just glad to see a little bit of that coming back in. You don't often get to see it. It's not normally something you get to enjoy, is Crystal having form like that. But let's remind ourselves, this is only map 1 of 2. We're here in overtime, of course, in the first map. And I think we've got Opos next, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So that could be actually really, really enjoyable to watch. I would say very heavily favoured towards NaVi, considering I don't think they've lost that map in the last 3 months. I think it's 6-0 for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, PENTA, you know, if there's a time to win, it's probably now. Not when you go into map 2, but
I think PENTA are already eliminated well, not eliminated, but they're already out of playoff contention.
yeah.
So there's still a lot more to be decided after that fact, of course, in terms of, you know, what we see towards relegations or at the end of the round, at the end of the season. But PENTA now, they just want to see the world burn.
And what perfect spawns for NaVi. Guardian and Edward, the 2 players who've been playing A, get pretty much the A-long spawns here if they want to take them. That's pretty sweet. I wonder if they're going to... I wonder if they're actually going to use it. I don't think they particularly have to. It'll mean that Edward can get to long pretty nicely and not be too worried about anyone being there quicker than him, but still going to go towards danger. So no real benefits from that one used at this point. But you got Guardian playing by the door, you got Seized over by Drop with Flamey, and Simple playing in the back of Chicken Coop. So instantly going for the double AWP though.
Yeah.
So their money could be
depleted.
Yeah, exactly. It can deplete the CT side money in overtime if you don't win these out. It can be a bit of a costly factor. But let's see if Edward can handle this. 2 players coming up long. He sees the gun first. He gets the shot down. Lol. Maybe not predicting that one. And Tarsin trying to avenge his fallen teammate. The molly comes in. He's going to burn him alive. And Tarsin wouldn't put him out of his misery in the end. Mikes burns him, and now it's down to Guardian to deal with what might be coming along. But they haven't fully committed here. This still could be a really nice play from PENTA if they just hit the brakes a little bit.
It's always fun to watch Guardian when you see his player in towards middle or in towards danger get taken down, because sometimes he just stands there and says, well, bugger it, I'm going for it anyway. And sometimes he completely gets the heck out. Now, so it has been Flamey. He's sort of been nominated to come and support over on this A site, but albeit from a very passive angle at the back of site. So PENTA now could push in to B with only 2 players and actually have a man advantage if they sort of make this push in a pinch.
Oh, I like this. Mikes is going to smoke out the door, so that kind of keeps them maybe thinking. Like Guardian looks at it like, do I believe this? I guess I kind of have to, but now here comes the pinch. But he's positioned really well to expect that split towards A. So finding those 3 players coming through Drop. There's 2 more to go, and Guardian is not letting them pass. Living up to that name, just smashes Tarsin, and Mikes is left reeling. He knows where that smoke came from as well, so he's got to say, guys, he's going to be on long somewhere. He smoked off the door. I saw it coming through, so Mikes left just scratching his head going, how the hell did he read that? But Guardian just read him like a book.
I'm surprised Mikes can sort of play while he's still peeling his hand off of his forehead here after hearing his team just get completely massacred by 1 man. I mean, it's always Guardian, though. He's at the center of these kind of furors. And Mikes, well, we've seen this spot from the man before. Cheeky little one. Edward's not alive to get 1 tap by this position, though. Mike, sorry about that one. But it's 17 apiece here. I mean, for NaVi, a great little opening here, great start. The CT side looking better for them than it did, well, perhaps in some moments in that first half. But we have a pause.
Technical? I think it's tactical. According to admins, it's a tactical pause coming in OT. Okay.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, why not? Fair play to him. Go for it. If you've got to be looking to close these.
You
sort
get
of
one
things.
pause per OT, don't you?
Oh God, I don't know actually.
Graham. It is a
I don't
tag
think
pause.
Graham's actually the admin
No,
for this,
I know
by the
he's
way,
not.
But we like to blame Graham for everything. Good old delay him. The admin you'll often see just wandering around the stage looking really, really grumpy. That is Graham. But yeah, Penta just talking things through, and why not take the moment to kind of discuss coming into overtime what's been changed. Have NaVi switched something up here? Is there a way we could better approach this? How do we negate Guardian? You know, isn't that always the question? Do you try and avoid where he is, because he's been reading that game plan so well from Penta?
I thought Guardian had a fairly torrid first few rounds actually on the CT side. I think, but he sort of played himself more than anything else in that situation.
Nice,
you know, getting caught out quite often. You know, going on his own as well. Even when, you know, his buddy Edward's been taken out, he's still pressing for more information, pressing for more kills. So I honestly don't really credit that to Penta as much as I'd maybe like to there, because I think Guardian had some interesting positioning problems there over towards the A or the middle room. Always going for a peek, might get one, then just gets traded out, and an AWP given over to a team that couldn't even buy up properly. So not always ideal. But
all right. Going back in, it is going to be Guardian by the side room here. You got a nice little peek between the stairs and, you know, a little blade of grass on which you can see that one. Doesn't find much. I don't know. That did look close. I don't know. I've stopped questioning these things, and Guardian's going to pretty much land a bit of a blinder on the way out. Edwards put himself towards the site, and sadly for Penta, that punch that they came in towards the site with has been just depleted one by one. Lol's got a good angle though, catching Seized on the rotate. A little bit needless there, but Flamey will find him and leaves Crystal in the 1v4.
Yeah, that's a punch that's just turned to average fruit juice, I'm afraid. Crystal gets himself the AWP in a 1v3, but the guy's a bit of a crazy guy when it comes to AWPing in these close. Oh, God. All right, then Edward just gets completely decked, and now it's going to be Simple, though, responds quite nicely and with the AWP at the very least here. So now Penta, yeah, starting to sweat a bit more. Money, not great. And NaVi making this double AWP work there. Of course, Simple comes in after the fact, but I haven't seen that gesture from you in a while, Lauren, but that sums it up quite nicely what we saw there. Crystal just... He's the kind of guy, he's just a cracker. You can just go off at any time. You just never know.
Yeah, he can be a dangerous player. Didn't quite have the chance with Simple, as you said, doing that sort of thing. He kind of ran very, very late in the round, but it looks like Penta have run out of steam a little bit here, if I'm honest. I think we've seen the longevity that NaVi can bring just being NaVi, but it has been a really close game, but it's not over yet. You know, I talk as though it's done. It's certainly not done. And look at Tarsim with the bomb. He's so far back here. I don't know if they're trying to bait a rotate out, because, okay, Simple's been very quick on the rotates around the back. As soon as they kind of see a lot of presence, he'll be the one pushing right around, but I don't think we've seen Guardian or Edward do the same thing from A. So, again, I'm not sure what they intend to do. It could be a late A split. They could just be trying to look for a pick here. The smoke off towards the side room, just denying any peek coming out from possibly, you know, whether it be Seized or maybe Flamey. They do have drop control. What can they do with this?
I like this, though. I mean, Penta, in rounds that they've managed to maintain control of drop room, have been able to push forward from this one really, really well. But it's going to be Edward this time, actually, who's going to be here, instead of Seized or Flamey, who it often was. And both of them couldn't really find their rhythm playing from connector or playing from the other exit to drop room. Stefan gets hit with that flash. And doesn't really know how to play off the back of it here. Penta do want to group up here for a bit of a push. Flamey's in a good spot, but the flash was perfectly timed there. Crystal gets him, but quickly does go down there. Simple gets 2 kills and Seized with 1. That should be enough here to seize the deal, but no, Lol, defiant as always, up in the face of NaVi. Gonna say, no, I'm not gonna give up yet. No, Guardian comes in though, and that's always an oppressive force to have to play against. The dark side strong in that one, and now the Molotov on the ground. Lol, how to pick himself up an AWP, but here his options are sorely limited.
Okay, he fakes the bomb plant, trying to draw one out, and he's got that. Once when he crossed towards the square, he knows maybe that's a possibility. He wasn't quick on the peaks. That's why his position is slightly further to the left. He's trying to go for the full plant, and Guardian and Edward say a big fat no. There it is, closed down. Sadly for Penta, just didn't quite have the longevity to take it through overtime. NaVi are the ones at the very forefront of that.
Yeah, I got to put it up to NaVi there as well. They were getting slapped around a little bit, but had the durability. And I guess they managed to weather the storm there from Penta, who came out pretty strong. Come like balls in a China shop, but NaVi were able to tame them this time without too many gore holes. Nicely done, I have to say, to pick things up. Overtime's always interesting to see, especially with a team like NaVi. A couple of those rounds were like, I'd love to see how this one plays out, but I'd love to see what the analysts have to say about this one as well. Nice overtime one to start things off, boys. What have you got for us? Alex isn't at the desk for some reason.
He's gone missing.
He might
See,
be fixing his
this
hair.
is the problem is, right, he's been influenced by Matt. Slaterkiss has, got into his head. He thinks this is how to act. It's not the way.
Well, hopefully his buttons are done up properly, that's all. And then
Alex
I'm
has been
fairly
slowly
satisfied.
undressing on the desk. It's like lower than this nowadays. It's like down there. So I don't know what's going on with him.
He's been getting to the gym. He's been getting,
Is that it?
getting
You
a
reckon
bit buff.
he's been working out?
Starting to work on a little bit there. But, all right, really?
Hold on. You might hear in the background Yanko just summoning Alex, like, Alex,
All right.
where are you?
All right, so we're going to shoehorn in, not awkwardly at all. All right, you're running
I wish
back.
we could see this. I wish we could see this. He's coming back now, don't worry. We can see it. The producer's sitting there going, where the hell is this guy? But he's back, don't worry. I'm pretty sure he's whacking the headset on right now. So I think in about 5 seconds, we can head over
let's get this,
and hear from the analysis
yeah,
desk.
let's get this bloody circus on the road, boys. Take it away.
With great pleasure. Thank you. I've been here all along.
It's good to see who's professional here.
Okay.
Yanko and I sitting here ready and raring to go.
In my defense, I thought the delay on the stream I was watching was a little shorter than it was. I was just watching.
Who won the game?
I was watching on the edge of my seat as Lau was thrust into a 1v2. And he didn't do it. Well, all too good then as an OT. And always we find ourselves here with the PENTA discussion saying, so close yet so far. How agonizing it must be to be in their shoes, right? Like these players have just sat there. Not only are they picking up wins versus the likes of Astralis, Virtus Pro, but they're also getting close versus your G2s and now your NaVis. This has been a real kind of turbulent time for the boys of PENTA, wouldn't you say? This is kind of, I'd rather lose more convincingly than get so close.
Yeah, and especially because I feel that they lost because of one round. That was that anti-eco they lost that forced them into a double eco pretty much. Gave NaVi, the space to come back into the game. I think it looks to me like NaVi didn't really got to Cbble yet with this new lineup because you could see that on CT they were going for a lot of aggressive peaks, simple especially towards that B platform. And then on the T side, they mostly had that default where they would get control of long A and then maybe finish A or go back to B for that smoke execute.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone started so strong for NaVi. They actually had a quite convincing lead until PENTA kind of woke up on that first half, Jad.
Well, Seized was a pretty non-issue on that first half for NaVi. The couple of things that I want to note for that half was Seized looked lost in the drop zone. It wasn't a position that he's obviously comfortable with because he wasn't, he just didn't look like he knew how to play it. And that's probably one of the most annoying places to play that and Ivy on train. They're not fun places to play. Another thing is the money game of NaVi was pretty hindered early on. Guardian got run down twice early by the force buy / eco of PENTA. Yeah. That cost them. And then Simple getting picked twice on the platform at B. And one of them was an accidental nade, I think, by Stefan. I think he meant to land it so it would hit the wall and go to the stair, but it actually went in the archway and Simple had already been spammed a little bit, and I would have been tilted at that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how, with the Simple knows just how lucky or rather unlucky he was in that exchange. But I mean, is it so? If we're looking at NaVi, yes, we're going to have to kind of, even though despite victory, we have to criticize NaVi to an extent, right? Just because we have to try and identify Simple and Seized are the two kind of slightly wobbly-looking players in Cbble, and that's just because of these role shift, right? Do you think Seized looks comfortable as Zeus yet? I mean, did he just have a bad game, or did he look a little lost?
I think it was a bad game, and as I said, I think they're still figuring things out. On Cbble, you could see that maybe he was, aware that he was having a bad game because in that last round, that spray from all the way back towards Rock, towards B platform, he could have just gone for a couple of bursts, maybe be a bit more calm because they were in a 3v2. He only needs to buy time for his teammates, right? At that point, I think that we should also give props to PENTA. Of course, they made it a real close game. They had some cool setups. You could see it. I think teams are more and more adjusting to the fact that there's not much room for aggression on Cbble on the CT side, so that they're taking more risks in terms of stacking sites. Mostly the A bomb set. We saw NaVi in that. Anti-force by round, they had 4 people towards the A bomb site. Now, that also might be, them looking up PENTA, how they like to play Cbble, or it just might be a pure guess.
Yeah, what was your theory on that one, Chad? Were you convinced that there was actually some anti-stratting going on, or just a good read?
Well, I think Yanko was talking about, while we were watching, Yanko was saying that PENTA looked like they were playing 3 towards that A long section because they knew that NaVi would default and get control of that first. They get that hay room, as I like to call it. And then once they had that, they would drop back to B and then do something. So by having 3 players there, you could probably trade out, I've dropped my pen, in your favor. And then you could, go from there and play the mid round. I really like the way that Penta were playing their T side though, because when they did get those picks on simple, they made really smart decisions. They played as a unit, and then they just executed simple splits onto sites. And there was another round there. It was like 2 rounds or something where Lau did like a really good lurk onto the A site and caught Guardian off guard. So he was really impressive to me.
All round, I mean, there was kind of things that impressed us on both sides. That's a nice takeaway. You don't always get that, but NaVi and Penta both impressing us as we goes all the way to overtime without NaVi finding the victory in the end. For now, though, we do take a break. When we do come back, you get to see Overpass. We saw some mad things from Guardian and NaVi over on Overpass just yesterday here in the Pro League. And of course, if you wanted to go ahead and find all of that good stuff, you can actually head over to a particular application. It's called the Score Esports application. You can go ahead and recap what exactly did go down in the Pro League yesterday, as well as find out just how good Cbble was for some of the members of Penta. You go check that out, and we do return. We'll be talking a little bit about Overpass and what you have to expect.